YouTube? It's your girl DeeDee. Welcome back, you guys, to another live stream. Listen, as you come into the building, make sure you hit the like button. Also, put a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear me perfectly fine. Put a 1 in the chat before we start. Put a 1 in the chat to let me know that you guys can hear me perfectly fine. Let me know if the audio is good. Put a 1 in the chat if the audio is good, y'all. And then we're going to get into this, and then we're going to wrap this up. I'm not going to keep y'all too long today, but I had to address the whole Diddy situation, as I promised I would. But put a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear me perfectly fine. Baby, there are a lot of people who are mad about this verdict. There are a lot of people who are upset behind this whole Puffy P. Diddy situation. So I wanted to give my 2 cents on it, and I want to get y'all thoughts on it as well. Listen, as you come into the building, make sure you hit the like button, y'all. Shout out to you guys. I hope y'all are doing well. Happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday, right? Happy Wednesday. I hope y'all are doing well. Shout out to Shamari DeVoe in the building. Ada James, what's going on? Jontel starting off already with a super chat. Make sure you guys are supporting the channel by hitting the like button, and also via super chat or cash app to help the channel to grow. You guys, make sure you are supporting in that way if you can. To hit the like button is free, so make sure you hit the like button. Jontel, thank you for the super chat. Says 50 let down Gotham because the diddler got away. Oh my God. Baby, listen. Thank you, Chantel. I appreciate you. Listen, the diddler got away, baby. I did a video. Oh, wait, before we get into that, shout out to Ada James. Shout out to, I think it's Ike. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Orion. I hope I'm saying that right. Shout out to everybody in the building, everybody watching. I appreciate you guys for being here. So listen, I did a video on my channel about 2 weeks ago asking if Diddy would I think I said would Diddy rot or will he walk? Will he walk or will he rot? And the reason I asked that question is because we all paid attention to the testimonies, Cassie's testimony, the Jane Doe testimony, and every Don Richard, Kid Cudi. We paid attention to everybody who testified in that courtroom. And I will say this just to preface this first. I don't think that Diddy is innocent of at all. I think Diddy has proven to be guilty of domestic violence, in my opinion, because we saw that video of him dragging Cassie and kicking her. So I can conclude from that video that there was definitely, some black eyes as reported and some domestic violence going on. But I will say he was not in court for domestic violence. They were not charging him or alleging that he was, knocking their head in between the wash and the dryer per se. This was because if that was the case, that wouldn't be a charge that would land him in prison for possibly the rest of his life. There had to be something more substantial to try to get him in jail for the rest of his life. Just throw him in there and throw away the key. So that's where the RICO charges, in my opinion, and y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think, but that's where the whole, RICO charges and all of this stem from, because all of that he could have been in jail for life had he got charged for those charges. Let's get into them. I'll go ahead and add this to my screen. And this is what actually happened. So the verdict, they came back with the verdict, right? So on count 1, the racketeering conspiracy charges, he was found not guilty. Count 2, ex-trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, was not guilty. Count 3, transportation to engage in the prostitution, he was found guilty on the transporting them to do the act, or to the Diddy parties, or to the freak offs, or whatever. Count 4, ex-trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, that was not guilty on, this was related to Cassie and Jane Doe. And then on count 5, ex-trafficking, count 4, he was found not guilty. And then transportation, count 5, transportation to engage in it, once again, was found guilty. So he was found guilty on the minimal charges, which they're saying they're expecting that he could actually be released today. So this is a shock for a lot of people. People aren't feeling this. They're angry about it. And I don't know why. And I will say, then I'll play the rest of the video, that we watched the testimony of Cassie. Cassie, in my opinion, was supposed to be the smoking gun, right? She was supposed to be the smoking gun, the one who's going to put it all together and be a slam dunk, basically. And also, I thought that there would be a lot more testimony from a lot more people, because people were speculating that there was going to be all these people coming forward about him doing these things to them, and it really wasn't. And then even me, I was thinking, oh my God, Cassie was, being tortured, and she was just being, and it's just my opinion, and y'all let me know yours. I was thinking Cassie was being tortured, and she was in some type of hyperbolic chamber, forced there and put in a dungeon, and then brought out for the freak offs and just to do whatever. When in actuality, it was not like that. When she started testifying, to me, I felt like it was not the smoking gun that we all thought it would be, that she was actually involved heavily in what was going on. She didn't seem like a straight victim in a sense to all of this. Seems like she was a part of it. They're saying she was helping set up the freak offs. She was, complicit in doing these things. She wanted to do it, even though there probably was some cases where she didn't agree with Puffy and they had disagreements and it got a little crazy. But overall, they were complicit in this. Even the Jane Doe, too, seems like she was there. She was getting paid a certain amount, but sounds like she was not happy with what she was getting paid or whatever. But it seems like they were complicit in what was going on. And I think this is probably why he got off, because it was not the smoking gun people were looking at. People were looking for clear torture, clear control, clear, oh, he just a demon, you know what I'm saying? Demonizing these people and forcing them against their will. Because that's what I was thinking. That's what I was hearing, that this is allegedly what was happening. And listen, we don't know what completely happened in them rooms and them freak offs, because we weren't there. But for the cases that have been brought to the forefront, which is Cassie mainly and Jane Doe, those did not seem like forced and coercion. It seems like they knew why they were there. They played a big part in it. There was something to gain from it. And then they didn't really like some aspects of it, but they chose to be there. Yeah, you feel me? They chose to be there. So it wasn't a clear-cut case of, oh, he did all these things to these women and they just was opposed to it. Like they was just a deer in headlights, didn't know what was happening. They knew what was going on. They wanted to be a part of it. There was something to gain from it, even though in the public opinion, people still want to feel sorry for the women in these cases, as if they were completely forced. Now I will say there may have been some aspects of what they didn't like and they went against it or whatever. And because the audio of him talking to the Jane Doe is saying, hey, look, come on, we going to the freak off. Do you want to do it or not? Because if you don't, I'll get somebody else. And then she didn't like that. So to me, that wasn't coercion. That was like saying, hey, make a choice. Do you want to do this or you don't? Because if you don't, keep it moving. I ain't tripping. You what you want to do? You about it or you not? It sounds like they had a choice. To me, I don't like when people try to force something on. I don't think you should be forcing anything on anybody. But in these particular cases, in my opinion, it didn't seem like that to me. And I think that is why DeeDee is going to go home. And a lot of people, gonna feel a certain way behind this, and a lot of people are gonna feel strange because they didn't really, they thought he was gonna be locked away and they could move on. But now that he's getting out, oh man, it's gonna be weird, because a lot of people walked away, didn't support him and all of that. And I remember him asking who with me and who's not, so I'll know. Well, he knows now, so, and he's getting out, so it's like, oh my God. But listen, I don't think Puffy is completely innocent in things that he's done allegedly, but for what he was put on trial for, they did not prove that case. They didn't prove that case. And you, in the court of law, you got to prove your innocence. You got to prove your case. Pharaoh, thank you for the super chat. Hey, Pharaoh says 50 better be prepared, like his video game Blood on Sand. Diddy is powerful enough to buy his way out of this. Thank you for the super chat. And that's something people are speculating and saying too, that he could, but that's true. But at the same time, the testimony was not enough to prove, the cases. And that's why he got off. Thank you, Pharaoh. I appreciate you for the super chat. Pharaoh also says Cassie loved giving Right. Exactly, Farrell. Yeah. Thank you for the super chat, Farrell. Thank you so much for being here. It just wasn't enough to lock him away. And I thought it was going to be a lot more involved, but it really wasn't, child. And this man is getting off. Elijah, thank you for the super chat. Says DeeDee, she hit Diddy in the face in the hotel room. That is why Diddy went after her in the hotel. Listen, you are right, Elijah. Thank you for the super chat. These women were not innocent. And, they knew what they were getting involved in. They weren't there for nothing. They signed up to be a part of the freak. They signed up for this. They were getting paid. And so I just, it's funny how, women can agree to something. Then you change your mind and then you decide, oh, well, it wasn't to my liking, or I didn't like this part of it. I didn't like that part of it. So now I'm going to get you, now I'm going to come and play the victim. That is not shocking to me. Thank you, Elijah. So listen, there are a lot of people who are sounding crazy. What's going on, Smitty? How you been? Hope all is well with you. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for being here. So, baby, this is crazy. I'm gonna stop talking for a second. I want to go ahead and play some of the audio, the clips of what's going on, and then I'll open a link if you guys want to come up and give your thoughts on this, because I asked the question in one of my videos. One of my morning show videos, I was like, is he going to ride or he's going to walk? And it looks like he's walking, because I just didn't see the coercion. I didn't see the forcing of anything. These people were complicit. They were there. They knew what was happening. And then they just didn't like some parts of it or whatever. And when Cassie testified, I was looking for some really, really damning information. And it just was not there. It just was not there. And she may have suffered some trauma or whatever from this, but it was because she wanted to be there. In my opinion, she wanted to be there to the point where she left and went back. She got a husband, got kids, and went back. So I'm not surprised, but let's go ahead and listen to what they're saying here. Here we go. I'm going to play this.
You stand by. I also want to bring in our NBC News legal analyst, Kristen Gibbons-Fedden. Kristen, you have followed this one from the very beginning. I want to just update our viewers about what's going on inside court right now. His defense team, given the acquittals on some of these charges, Kristen, they're asking for him to be released. Because remember, he's been behind bars. He was facing such serious crimes, even though he had pled not guilty and maintained his innocence. He was behind bars this whole time, right? He has been in a detention center for months now. And so they're asking for him to be released today, for him to be able to live in Miami at his home. They've said, look, his plane has been sequestered. This is his first conviction. He should be released on appropriate conditions. Kristen, what are the chances he walks today?
I think there is a high likelihood that he walks today. Keep in mind what the jury found, right? The jury did not find him guilty of counts 2 and 4. So they really ripped out the threat element. They ripped out the violence element. They ripped out the violent parts of which is what the prosecution used as the main thing to keep him in bail. Remember back to when they were arguing bail multiple times because the defense asked for reconsideration. And some of the main things that they pointed to was how Diddy was violent, how Diddy kind of utilized his enterprise to enact all of these violence. Well, the jury has spoken. There was no criminal enterprise, or at least they did not find that Puff Daddy or Diddy made any of these crimes possible through his power, through his money, through his control, through his violence. So there is a high likelihood that with his plane sequestered, with him in being Miami, and the fact that he is a celebrity where he can't really go unnoticed, there is a high likelihood that the judge may have released him on bail today.
Yeah, I mean, they have his passport, but he has an enormous amount of means. And obviously, the prosecution is going to oppose this. They're saying that his attorneys have been trying to downplay this years-long conduct. But Misty, if you're the judge in this moment right now, do you release him with the sort of hope in the prayer that he's not going to be able to fly out of the country somewhere?
I think it's very likely that he gets released now that he's convicted on these Mann Act charges, and that's it. You're not talking about the sex trafficking, force, fraud, and coercion. You're not talking about RICO, this widespread criminal enterprise. You're talking about 2 isolated Mann Act charges. And the analysis is going to be, number one, danger to the public. The other is going to be flight risk. So flight risk is what you're speaking of. To the extent that there's enough conditions on him to keep him and have him come back for sentencing, I think it's very likely that he gets released. And when he gets sentenced, this is really important, because what's going to happen is the prosecutors are going to present aggravating factors. The defense is going to present mitigating factors.
We should make that clear. That does not happen today. That happens in months from now.
Down there. But the fact that sex trafficking is an acquittal, it's going to be really important, because that idea of who's exploited in these Mann Act charges, that Cassie Ventura or Jane were potentially exploited, that would be the prosecution's argument. I think you're going to lose a lot of that argument. So the judge is going to be looking at that possible penalty and likely saying that he will be released with those conditions.
Yeah, so I do believe he's going to be released. I probably sometime this evening, tonight or tomorrow, he's going to be released shortly. And, you know, once again, a lot of people are pissed. They sound mad and angry. But they feel like, oh, this man and got off and walked off and he's did so much damage and stuff like this. But once again, it's you know, and I'm nowhere in any way, shape, or form condoning Diddy, but I'm just calling a spade a spade. You know what I mean? You got that's what the court of law is for, to present the evidence, and you have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that, you know, whatever your claims are, that is true or not true or whatever, you have to defend yourself. You just can't go off of your feelings of what you know, or whether you dislike a person or like them. You know, you have to go off of the evidence, and they were not able to prove what they were claiming. And so that is why Diddy is getting off. And so, you know, and once again, I saw the same thing that the jurors and that everybody saw. I didn't see no smoking gun. I didn't see nobody held down against their will and forced to do anything. I saw women who were complicit, but they feel bad about it now, and they want to come clean, and now they want to act as if some type of victim. And really, you know, you weren't really victims in this. You chose to be there. Once again, if somebody is knocking your head between the washer and dryer, and even that was not even a claim of the domestic violence part, because if it was just that, like I said, he could have done a little bit of time, probations or whatever for that, remediation or whatever they do for a domestic violence case. He wouldn't have been up for all these RICO charges and all these other things that would put him away for a long, long time. So that was a waste of time. You had to try to come for something more serious to really get him, and they failed at it. And once again, it sealed the deal for me when I heard Cassie's testimony, baby. That did more damage than good, in my opinion, in her defense. It did not help her defense. And baby, I just say, you know what, Cassie proved that she was the ace boom coon to the kingpin. I'm just saying, she was the right hand man. Like, she was the ace boom coon to the kingpin. She was not the victim in all of this. Now, some could argue, because women would like to say, oh, she was the victim, but maybe a victim in her mind, because she felt the need that she needed to be there in spite of what was going on. I've seen Cassie with black eyes and things of that nature. So somebody, you know, they were in there fighting, or she was getting, you know, knocked in between the wash and dry, and that's unfortunate. But I don't condone that, but she stayed. She chose to be there. She could have left. And it's not like she was being held against her will. And they tried to prove stuff like that, but they couldn't prove it. If you choose to stay with a person, I don't care how much money they got, what they can offer you, that's still a choice, baby. That's a choice that you make. There's no way I'm going to choose to stay with somebody who's knocking my head between the washer and dryer and then cry victim at the end when I stayed all those years. I don't care why you stayed. You stayed because you wanted to be there, or you for whatever reason. You're supposed to go to the police, go get some help, get the hell away from that lifestyle if that's not what you want. There has to be some accountability. But once again, these, in my opinion, are the reasons why he's out, because it wasn't a holds bar, held down type of situation. They chose to be there. Is that Jamil 843 says Cassie saying that it was consensual sealed it. Thank you for the super chat. Exactly. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. Exactly. I mean, he didn't take anything, force anything on her. It was clear because she went. That, to me, that's another part where I just couldn't ignore. Girl, this monster who did all this to you, you went cheated back with him, had sex with him, raw dogging it. while you was married. I'm just like, how? Like, that shows you wanted to be there. And allegedly at one point she wanted Puffy to marry her. So why would you want to marry somebody that's such a mean, evil person doing all this shit to you, and you keep going back? I don't know. And people say, what y'all call it, Stockholm syndrome, or, oh, people always go back to abusers. No, this is because this man has money and power, and they like the lifestyle. You like what he can offer, even though he's not 100% what you really want in all areas, but he has enough that will keep you there. And this is, to me, what the lawsuit was about for the payday. So the best way she can get away from it is to sue him for the money, get the money, and then she can move on. And who knows, dip it and do it with him after all of this. As somebody said in the comments, they might end up getting together. Listen, baby, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if she reached back and he said, okay, you know what I'm saying? It's some sick, twisted, demented type of relationship. Who knows? Who knows? You know, I just, you know, it's not what people thought it was going to be. And there were people in the comments, even women, who were saying, now, Cassie, girl, because we had this idea that she was being taken advantage of in a way that really controlling her and making her do these things, when a lot of it wasn't like that. It wasn't exactly like that. I don't know how to Desi. I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you for the super chat. Says there was no choice. You're in or you out of business. The G-way things have been for decades. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you and your comment. And thank you so much for being here. Yeah, that's crazy though. That's crazy, y'all. Classy Perspective, thank you for the super chat. Says, I'm not a huge fan of Diddy, but the transportation of prostitution charges does not make sense. If grown men consent into doing sexual acts, pros are all over America. I get it. Thank you, Classy. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. So, I mean, yeah, it's just, I'm not really surprised, but you know, I didn't know what was going to happen. Jontel says Cassie will post on X Freak Off and fireworks on the 4th, child. Baby. Thank you, Jontel. I appreciate you. It's crazy. It's crazy. You know, it's just interesting. And you know, in the beginning of all this, I'm like, oh, he going down, because I was expecting way more than what was actually presented. But to see what was presented and the outcome, I'm not surprised. Let's continue.
And one more point on that sex trafficking. I think the defense made a very good point, which the prosecution really had to concede. And when we say it's easier to convict if it's only sex trafficking at least one time, it's also a concession to a certain degree, because when do you decide it's sex trafficking versus not sex trafficking? And a lot of people have this idea of what that is, right? That it's something more than just one isolated incident, that it's more of a large scale operation. And I'm wondering if that undercut the prosecution's case.
I think people also think of it as something that not for the benefit of the person themselves, right? They think about people selling girls. They think about some international operation, people in the back of a van. People have an image of sex trafficking that doesn't necessarily correlate with what the law says about sex trafficking, but I wonder if it played into the jury's view of what was going on here, because the defense kept hammering, look, he might be a flawed guy. He might be violent. He might be an abuser, but he's not a trafficker. He's not part of an enterprise.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Even to the extent that Mark Agnifilo in his closing referenced Sammy the Bull. It's like they wanted the jury to go home and rent Goodfellas so that they could see what a criminal enterprise was. And I agree with you. I think that just in the jury's mind, and the average person, you're going to think of a more widespread scheme where there's a lot of exploitation of women being coerced to come into a sex trafficking ring. That's not what this was. So clearly the defense did a good job undercutting it. And Laura, also, defense strategy of not calling any witnesses, people have said, was that good or that bad?
A lot of people wondered, is that a concession that he doesn't have a strong case? And now look what happened.
Well, it's a risk-averse strategy, in my view, because once you start putting on witnesses, you open up doors. And the defense did a very good job on cross-examination of using electronic record, text messages, emails, social media posts. You can't really wiggle out of them. They're in black and white. So if the jury reads those as being romantic relationships, consenting relationships, whatever that might be, you know, when with respect to forced labor, that there were relationships between him and his employees that didn't rise to that level of force and coercion, that's really effective because that goes back in time to when it's happening. It's not what you're thinking in retrospect from the stand.
Just to bring everyone inside the courtroom again, no cameras in federal court, but we have a crackerjack team inside there that is sort of feeding us through the Pony Express of notes here. And the prosecution is fighting desperately right now to keep him behind bars, saying things like he poses a danger. He's going to attempt to flee justice. Basically saying, Misty, he can't be trusted because of the misconduct, because of the physical abuse. He doesn't have a respect for the law. This is, again, the Comey, the prosecutor, trying to convince the judge to keep him behind bars. And the judge is pressing her, saying, counsel, do you have an example of somebody who has been behind bars in detention on this type of charge, this prostitution Mann Act charge, and bail was denied on those grounds? And she said, I don't have an example off the top of my head, Judge. And it sounds like he's gonna make her, press her to try to find some precedent, if you will, because the judge has to be careful too, right? He can't keep him in detention if there's not a legal justification for it.
Absolutely. The judge relies on legal precedent. Is there another similar case in this jurisdiction where that's happened? I am not aware of one. I think prosecution's argument about that danger element is much weaker given what the jury has said. The jury has spoken. These acquittals, they are rock solid. Nothing can happen on those particular charges at this point. The stronger argument, in my view, from prosecution perspective, is the tremendous amount of resources that this individual has on that flight risk issue. I think it's a stretch to say, given the jury's verdict, that this is a danger to society because the jury has made this determination on these charges. And again, unless there's a case out there that I'm not aware of, I practice in this jurisdiction. I don't think there is on these.
You've never
charges.
seen that before in your practice?
No. Yeah. And by the way, Laura, he's a first-time offender. You know, we know a lot about him because he's in the public eye for past 20 years, but he's a first-time offender from a legal perspective. And that has an impact on this decision as well.
And now I understand.
Listen, and that's interesting because I think people forget that. They think the diddler, you know, as many will call him, that he's, you know, been in court and had all these different cases. He's a first-time offender for this charge. And so more than likely, yeah, he's going to, they're standing by with the jet and the bond money to get him out. He's already been in there for months. And so he's ready to get out of there. And I think he will. I think he will probably be released somewhere this evening or tonight. He's going to be out. And, you know, there's really nothing to really hold him on at this point. I mean, the jury has spoken. The verdict has been read. He's not guilty on the main things. These small charges, it doesn't carry any weight. So they really have nothing to hold him for. He's going to be released. Jamil 843, thank you for the super chat, says, give Diddy his freak off tapes back, LOL. Now listen, thank you, Jamil, for the super chat. I don't think he's getting the tapes back, baby. I don't think he's getting the tape back because I have a conspiracy theory. I think part of all this was to get the freak off tapes because there are so many people that supposedly are on those tapes. I think part of all of the scheme was to get those tapes. They went into his homes. They went in there to get them tapes because those tapes had a lot of important people on them. So I think part of this was to get the tapes, to be honest, to get those tapes out of his possession so he can't hold that over anybody's head. And now they had to set this up and go through the process and all of that. And now he's going to go home. Now that they've gotten those tapes out of the way, now he can go back to whatever he want to do. And as long as he doesn't have that lingering or be able to use anybody, you know, to use that against anybody, I think part of this probably was because, you know, was the reason for all of this, in my opinion. You know, they got them tapes. They ain't giving them back. Probably didn't want to destroy them because it, you know, I guess, you know, there was some really powerful and important people on those tapes. And I don't think they wanted to be exposed. So I don't know. Call me crazy. I think a lot of this had to do with those tapes, Jamil. Thank you so much for the super chat. I think a lot of this had a lot to do with that. Pharaoh says, more money we come across, more problems we see. LOL. The more money we come across, the more problems we see. Right. Thank you, Pharaoh. I appreciate you. Baby, yeah, he ain't getting them tapes back. Let's continue.
Understand, Aaron, a statement has been given on behalf of Cassie Ventura, star witness in this case. What are you learning?
Her attorney, Doug Wigdor, just sent us the following statement. This entire criminal process started when our client, Cassie Ventura, had the courage to file her civil complaint in November 2023. And Kira, we should say that's true. The criminal investigation is largely based on the statements in Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, and intensified, of course, once video from the 2016 hotel security camera became public. The statement from Doug Wigdor, her attorney, goes on to say, although the jury did not find Combs guilty of sex trafficking Cassie beyond a reasonable doubt, she paved the way for a jury to find him guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution. By coming forward with her experience, Cassie's attorney, Doug Wigdor, goes on to say, Cassie has left an indelible mark on both the entertainment industry and the fight for justice. We must repeat with no reservation that we believe and support our client, who showed exemplary courage throughout this trial. She testified for 4 days, often quite emotionally so, giving graphic, explicit detail of what she said she was made to do. And Sean Combs did not deny the facts of the freak-offs. Everything that happened in those hotel rooms did not get challenged by the defense. The defense simply saw it differently, as something that went on in a personal, consensual relationship, not sex trafficking.
And I think that is why that's the smoking gun. That's why he's getting out, because it was consensual. It wasn't, like we initially thought. A lot of women was like, oh my God. And, like I said, I personally believe that this was, something they conjured up and said, no, I'm, to get some money. Cassie went in, got them coins from him. And at first I was like, if he did all this to her, then, and if she could get the money out of, why not? But I do believe now it was a money grab. And a lot of you guys were saying that too was a money grab. I believe that she needed that money because she needed that money. And that was the only way to get the money. You had to do it that way, because so that you can get enough money so that you don't have to be completely tied to him or have to completely be there to deal with him. You know what I'm saying? Even though she was dealing with him, when she finally decided to move on, she needed that money. She needed enough money to live her life, and she got it. But then get in court and it's like, no, this was more of a consensual thing. It wasn't, I'm forcing you. No, you know what it's supposed to be. And just because you get tired of it, but you still want to stay, that ain't nobody's problem. You still stayed, even though all this was so, and I don't see her as a hero. I don't see her as a hero whatsoever. I see a woman, like most women are, who agrees to something and then you got tired of it because it didn't go your way. And then you turn around and you become the victim. And then you want to, act like the victim. That's how most women are. That's how most women act. And no matter what the situation is, you agree to something. And then when you don't like certain aspects of it, when you don't like certain things about it, you turn around and now I'm the victim. Now I'm going to get you. You don't do what I want you to do, or you feel like, you're not getting what you really want out of it. Now you turn around. Now I'm going to show you. Now I'm going to go sue you. I'm going to take some money I'm going to do what I need to do for myself, because women are selfish. They don't think about their actions and they're not accountable for what they chose to do. It's always just, I'm the victim. It's almost like, the freaks live on 12th Street and you're curious about the freaks on 12th Street. So you go to 12th Street to the very exact house they reside, and you go in there knowing what they're doing, but you curious because you want to see what they're doing, and then you see what they're doing and you kind of like that. So you engage with it and then you leave feeling like funny about it. So now you got to go into your victim mode and say, oh my God, the freaks took advantage of me on 12th Street. Well, who ain't nobody. You brought yourself to 12th Street where you knew the freaks were. You went in, you engaged with the freaks, and then you felt funny about it. So now I think they took advantage of me. So now I'm going to sue the freaks, even though I went over there and I was curious and I indulged and I kind of liked it. But at the same time, I feel nasty because the freaks took advantage of me. Something's got to be wrong with this. So now you go and you sue the freaks on 12th Street, tell them all the stuff that they did to you, but you don't say, oh, I went over there. I was interested. I tried it, but I felt like they did too much. So now I'm going to sue the geeks on 12th Street. When you could have, if you didn't like what the geeks were doing and you had wanted no parts of what the freaks were doing on 12th Street, you wouldn't have taken your ass over there to 12th Street with the freaks where they reside. That's what this sounds like. You go over to something, you realize it's an issue, and then when you don't like something about it, now I'm going to sue them. I think they took advantage of me, so now I need to get some money out of them. This is how this sounds. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense. Jamil says Ryan Leslie would have never done Cassie like this. Yeah, well, she wanted more. She assumed that Puffy was gonna do more for her career and left Ryan Leslie, who they say was in love with. He said that she was the love of his life, but he wasn't doing enough. And now you go through all of this with somebody who had more power, more money, and this is how it all ends. Yeah, I agree. Jamil 843. Thank you so much for the super chat. Once again, I appreciate you. So, yeah, it's crazy. Everyone involved in no free calls was paid. Yeah, people were paid to do that stuff. We from the Jane Doe part, she was getting money, and then she was mad because saying something she should have been worth more. Like she should have got more. So y'all know what y'all was doing. This was all a situationship. You know what was going on. Young Miami. She said none of this crazy stuff happened to her. She got involved with him. She had, she liked the pissy showers and all of that. She liked all of that. She, they had no problem. She played her part. He was paying her, allegedly, and buying her things and she did what, they agreed to do. And she didn't come out and say there was no problem with it and all of that. So I just think people think, they get involved with these things and they think that they deserve more than what they're getting. And when they don't get it, then they become bitter and now they want to sue and play victim. Let's continue.
And that's how the outcome is reflected now, Kira.
Bernard, I want to go on to read another part of that statement on behalf of Cassie Ventura's attorney, saying she displayed unquestionable strength and brought attention to the realities of powerful men in our orbit and the misconduct that has persisted for decades without repercussion. This case proved that change is long overdue, and we will continue to fight on behalf of survivors. Two things that stood out to me: powerful men in our orbit and the misconduct that persists, and change that is long overdue. Your thoughts?
Power and money. You can buy yourself out of a conviction. Let's be honest that if Sean Combs wasn't able to get the team that he got and pay for that defense team and experts and investigators to help defend himself, that we would have had a different outcome today. But money and power, that you can still get away with crimes if you have money and power. But I have to say, I was in the courtroom for Cassie's testimony, and she was a strong, strong witness. You can tell that the courage that she had, the strength that she exhibited. I mean, when she spoke and when she would cry from time to time, when she revisited those freak-offs and when she revisited those times where Sean Combs brutally beat her, and to see her in court sitting down, showing the strength and courage that she was able to overcome this.
But is it overcoming? Why did she stay though? This is what I'm saying. This kind of rhetoric is what annoys me, because it's like, what overcome what? He didn't hold her in there as a hostage. She could have left at any time. The minute he put his hands on her, she could have said, "Oh, hell no, I'm out of here." But she chose to stay. This is why women think that they can just, deal with these things or be in these positions and just stay there. And I don't believe Cassie was a full victim. Cassie sat there and dealt with that when she didn't have to. Girl, you could have left at any time. How you gonna just sit here and then act like she's some hero and so strong? No, she gotta make it compelling and cry so everybody can feel sorry for her, as if she had no parts in this. To me, a victim is a person who is held against their will. You have no other recourse. You just sitting there. Now, if somebody is constantly telling you can't leave, she actually left the man a couple of times. She actually left and went back. If you leave, why go back? Because the financial aspect of it. And that's nobody else's fault. You still have to make a choice as an adult to say, no, I don't give a. If somebody, once again, knocking my head between the washer and dry, I'm not going to stay there for 10 years and keep getting knocked. But the reason they do it is because the financial aspect. They're going to stay there for the resources, for the money, for the lifestyle. and then it becomes a part of you, and then you start being a part of it, helping out with the free, doing all these things. This is why I say she was complicit. There was things about this she liked, and maybe some things about it she didn't like. But they're gonna, when they get mad and you don't get your way, you're gonna complain about things you didn't like. You're not gonna, but she basically told on herself also that, she liked being part of the freak offs and all these things. But when these women are talking, they don't like to say, they act like, she was just a complete victim. Oh my God, I feel so, woe is me. No, it wasn't like that. It was not like that. And this is how they're going to continue to, she was such a victim for years by her own hand. She put herself there. She didn't have to stay there all that time and deal with abuse. I'm just saying. Class perspective. Thank you for the super chat. It says these people are such victims, but they keep wanting to be around powerful men. Shaking my head. Exactly. If you know he's such a powerful man, why you want to subject yourself to that when you know that this kind of stuff happens? Wouldn't you go the opposite? No, but it's the money and the fame that is what they're attracted to. And this is why you hear women, you hear people tell these women, hey, these type of men, they own something else. So you might not want to deal with them because if you're looking for a man to treat you well and do all this, that might not be the type of men that you want to be around, but they don't care because of the money. The money and the lifestyle is much more important than how you're actually being treated. But then this is why I don't like when they turn around and want to play the victim, because you put yourself there. I'll cry. I want to cry in a Bentley, not a Toyota. So you'll go cry, get your head knocked in between the washer and the dryer to live in a mansion and drive a Bentley, then have your own car, a Honda or whatever, and live your life without the abuse. No, they go towards it. Thank you, Classy Perspective. I appreciate you. Pharaoh says, strong in that thong. Thank you, Pharaoh. It's just crazy. And there are people who are out here in abusive relationships. And even when it comes to like average people, there are women who are in abusive relationships where the man is the sole provider. And part of the reason they stay is because he's the sole provider. They don't know how they're going to thrive without him. And they don't know how they're going to take care of themselves without the resources. So there are some women who do that. But once again, it's for the resources. And I just don't think that you should jeopardize your livelihood because a man is paying all the bills, but he's, abusive towards you, physically abusive, mentally, or whatever. I don't think it's worth it. I think you'll figure it out and find a way. And you're going to have to go through something. But a lot of these women don't want to go through anything. So they'll sit there and take the abuse and everything else that comes with it, the good, the bad, the ugly, but you only complain about the bad, knowing what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't. Dean, thank you for the super chat. Says you always speak truth. Love your contents. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dean. I appreciate you for being here and for supporting the channel. Thank you once again. Yeah, because I mean, look, we got to look at it. I try to be open-minded and look at things from both sides because I've seen a lot of this stuff. And once again, it's just women always, she's a victim. Oh my God, this and that. And a lot of times they're not. Jamil says Cassie almost got Kid Cudi killed. Don't forget. And that part. I mean, it's a lot. She's not I've listened to audio of this woman allegedly. I'm saying allegedly, but of her talking about she will get somebody deleted. It's not the victim mentality all the time. Everybody want all women just to be victims. All men are the perpetrators, and it's not really that. You agree to something, you don't like it, and then you cry wolf. Thank you, Jamil. Jontel says, so they seek out powerful men just to complain about them. It's blaming the spoon for making you fat. Get with a decent-hearted man. Take what you get. Exactly. Thank you, Jontel. Once again, I appreciate you. That's just how it go, and it's just getting old. And I would like to think for Diddy, once he get out of this situation and all of this, please don't have no more freak offs with all these people. I would hope that he don't do that because at any moment somebody could claim he did something, this and that. Be smarter. That's the only thing I'm saying. Be smarter. What's going on, C. Irving? Thank you so much for the super chat. Says she found the financial opportunity in it. A real victim is not driven by financial gain. Everything that glitters ain't gold. Quote of this year. I 100% agree with you, C. Irving. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. Exactly. That's how I see it anyway. I don't believe, if you truly are a victim, the money, you could care less about the money. That should be the last thing on your mind. You worried about your sanity. Somebody who's been abused and really messed up mentally, they don't care about no goddamn money. They care about getting out of that situation. Anything is better than being around a person who's been abusing you for years. If anything, you might want them, you know what I'm saying, something else to happen to them because they really mess with you so bad. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't think true victims are driven by the money. They're driven by they want results and they want to get away from you. They're not constantly going back to you. And I know there are people who talk about victims and the victim mentality and all of that, but we got to stop focusing on the mentality and do what's right. Most people women who have been abused don't want to hang around their abusers. You know, they especially if they've been treated this way for years and years and years, and they don't care about the money. And I know the argument will come up that, oh, women, they're afraid to leave. And there have been women who have been afraid to leave because a man has been violent towards them and they're literally afraid of them. That's a real thing. I will say that's a real thing. But at the same time, that's where you find the courage and the strength to walk away and let go of everything that person can offer you and just be like, nah, I don't want nothing you have. I'm out of here. Get away. And you stay away. You don't go back and forth and play games because these people are dangerous. If they're abusive and dangerous like that, why would you want to keep subjecting yourself to being around them when you know that they can be harmful to you? So yeah, I just, that's just how I see it. Thank you once again, C. Irvin, for the super chat. Let's continue.
I think one of the most strongest moments that brought people to tears is when she said at some point that she went home and she told her husband, you can do this without me, and that she wanted to cross the street and commit suicide because of what she had been through. But I'm glad that Cassie has been able to pick herself up and has been able to move on, taking it day by day, because it does show the strength that she got as a result of coming forward. That coming forward helped to bring closure to her.
The verdict down from the jury handed now to the federal courthouse. And according to, I'm going to read off, I'm quoting MSNBC, okay? So count one, not guilty. That's on racketeering, conspiracy. Not guilty on one of the counts for trafficking. That's not guilty on count two. Guilty on count three. That is the transportation to engage in prostitution. That's count three. Count four, not guilty. That is the sex trafficking by
force, fraud, or coercion.
All right. And then guilty on transportation to engage in prostitution. So,
those were just the charges, what he was guilty of and not guilty of. He was only guilty of two of the lesser charges, which means he's going to walk free. I want to get into another clip that I have for you guys, but definitely chime in the chat. Let me know what you guys think of this. Make sure you are hitting the like button.
Just saw that sketch of Sean Combs kneeling in prayer, and over the last 24 hours, that is what we have seen since the jury began its deliberations. The family has held several group prayers inside of the courtroom, and this morning, as the jury began to deliberate again, because they were still hung on that first count, he led them in a prayer asking God to bless their hearts. He was praying for a not guilty verdict and for God to watch over his family. He then sat down at his seat and read Psalms 11. It was a printout of Psalms 11 as the court proceeding began. He never looked up. You could see he was meditating, really focused on what was going to come his way. They didn't know what this mixed verdict was this morning, and so his attorneys were very anxious this morning as they came into the courtroom, somber faces, not knowing what to expect and how long it might take to deliberate on count one where they were hung yesterday. So then when Judge Arun Subramanian came, he read the note. He said the note was returned at 9:52 a.m. saying that they had reached a verdict on all 5 counts. And then he brought the jury into the room to read their verdict one by one, count by count. The first verdict, racketeering conspiracy, not guilty. You saw him do a fist pump. And he was still looking down. He never looked up. He was still kind of meditating, anticipating all of the verdicts for each count. And so then they listed sex trafficking, Cassie Ventura. He nodded his head. interstate prostitution for Cassie Ventura. Guilty. He was shocked. He was visibly affected when that one came. You could tell he was not ready for that to come, like a kinetic, like a real serious shock, because I think, once you start hearing the repetitive not guilty verdicts, there may have been an assumption that there was going to continue to be a not guilty verdict. So then after that, as they began to read the verdicts, he grabbed Tini Garagos' hand. They were fist pumping. His attorneys complete 180. They couldn't even sit down waiting for the verdict to be read. They were nervous, and they were kind of spread out. It was almost like a security detail. One was positioned here, one was positioned here, one was positioned back there, and they were pacing back and forth, waiting for that verdict to be read. They were all seated when the verdict was read. They were all smiling. When Judge Arun Subramanian then pulled the juror to ask juror number 1, juror number 2, juror number 3, is this your verdict? Each one of them said yes, yes, yes. That is when we saw a moment when Sean Combs reached over to one of his lead attorneys, Tini Garagos. He grabbed her, he kissed her on the cheek, beaming and smiling. During this time, he leaned back, he kept turning towards his family. I'm coming home, I'm coming home. It's gonna be okay. And also, as they were polling the jury, you could see Sean Combs looking at them, trying to make eye contact with them with his hands. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. That's kind of like a humility that he's shown throughout the trial, communications that he was actually admonished for during the trial for trying to make eye contact with the jury and connect with them. I don't believe any juror looked back at him. You could see a few of them kind of smiling, looking downwards, but I was focused on Sean Combs. He was about 10 feet to my left the entire trial, where he was seated at his defense table and the press row. And so he just kept thanking the jury. As the jury exited, he again was just thanking the jury, thanking the jury. And that is when we saw that dramatic moment. When the jury exited the courtroom, he dropped down to his knees. No one saw it coming. You looked over, he was on his knees, very prayerful, being very thankful for the verdict that was rendered, being acquitted of all of those charges. His family, as they have been known to do, when they get into this moment of prayer, they all bow their head. They were standing, they bowed their head, and then when he stood up, then there was loud cheers in the courtroom, loud cheers, a couple of outbursts of cheers. You saw him hugging his attorney, hugging Tini Garagos, Mark Agnifilo, his face beet red, group hugs. He has 9 attorneys, so they were group hugging. You could hear them saying, dream team, dream team. I was in the elevator with Mark Agnifilo. I asked him, he said he's never felt like this in 34 years. I said, well, what does that feel like? He said, I am relieved that I'm not miserable. When the not guilty verdict, when he was acquitted of all those top charges, Judge Arun Subramanian said, government, is there anything from the government? The government said no. Then he asked Mark Agnifilo, is there something from the defense? He goes, absolutely. I believe this defendant, having been acquitted of the most serious charges, he should be returned to his family. He should be able to return to his home at 2-Star Island. He said that he treasures this opportunity and he would never run afoul of any opportunities should he be released on bail. Maureen Comey, the lead prosecutor for this case, stood up. She vigorously fought against the bail the same way she vigorously argued this entire case, saying, listen, these underlying circumstances still exist. You heard the testimony. You heard what these victims testified to in terms of the violence and the threats, and these are still mitigating factors, and they still exist. At that point, Tini Garagos, you could see her going off. She was pointing her finger at Mark Agnifilo, just kind of like, you could just frustrated that there was still no, the government was still relentless in their prosecution of Sean Combs. Then the judge asked specific questions. What does this look like? If he is released on bail, Mark Agnifilo, what does that look like? Does he walk out of the front door today? He said, absolutely yes. I don't have a bail package prepared, a formal bail package, which is required in this situation, but off the cuff, we propose $1 million. We have 3 responsible family members who are here who can sign for the bail. We already have his passport. We rented out his plane. His plane is in Maui right now, so has no access to his personal plane. So he will never, he would not jeopardize any opportunity there would be should he be released on bail.
Okay, so listen, it's a lot. It's a lot. But he's getting out. We know that. We know that. He's gonna be
5.
He's gonna be release. What am I trying to do? Jontel says that picture of his knees was so close to reality, child. Thank you, Jontel. Y'all, thank you for the super chat. Y'all a trip. Yeah, look, I don't know what else to say. I just, it is what it is. I know a lot of people are pissed. I can say that. A lot of people are actually pissed at the fact that this man is out. I don't know. At this point, I guess y'all need to be pissed at Cassie, because Cassie, in my opinion, is really why he's out. She exposed herself. In my opinion, she exposed herself. What's going on, Trey? What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, what's going on? Look, this is a win for those who are trying to fight the retroactive consent and the type of things. These guys, this is a win for the guys who are trying to hold women accountable for their behaviors and their actions. It's a W for them. For me personally, I've been through a situation where I was lied on. It's not a fun situation. It happened to me when I was in the Air Force. It's not a fun situation to be in that, to be there and to have to explain your innocence. You know what I mean? And people believe her because she's small and she's cute and she's appears to be wholesome.
Right.
And I say this often, and it's something that I want younger men to understand, that women can be sex crazed just as much as men, if not more. It can happen. And until you have dealt with these types of situations, you don't believe that this is possible until it happens. And you realize, hold up, she's sleeping with a whole bunch of guys, and they have more access to sex than you do. So this is a W for all those guys that are fighting those wars. Personally, I think that if he has to catch a prostitution charge, I would have liked to seen the prostitutes charged as well, because who's the victim? If it's a prostitution charge, then that means that both sides are consenting. It's a service. So who's the victim in that particular case? And if you're saying it is the prostitutes, well, then that would literally change federal elements of court. Like, that would change a whole bunch of jurisdictions about who is actually the victim. I remember when I was in a department, when we did prostitution, they used to say society is the victim. That's what they made us put in the report. Because I asked the same question. I was like, who's the victim in this? If she's agreeing to do it and she's being paid for a service, how is she the victim? And say, no. It's society that's the victim. Oh, okay. That makes a ton of sense. So this is a victory for a lot of people who want to fight that battle over there. But to me, I knew what time it was when the defense didn't even call a witness. I knew exactly what time it was right then and there. I said, the fact that the defense is not calling anybody to come up and to speak or to ask questions or to try to reverse, they truly believe that the prosecution did not prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's important. The beyond a reasonable doubt is important. It's important here. If this were civil court, he's guilty because it's just a preponderance of evidence. But because this is a criminal trial, it's got to be beyond a reasonable doubt. And that is extremely difficult to get. And here's something I know a lot of y'all don't know, but I love the stats behind this. Federal RICO cases have a 97% conviction rate. This man literally just shocked the world. Because normally when you get a federal RICO case, it's done. They've done all the work. It's done. This is just protocol at this point. A 95 to 97% conviction rate most times. So the fact that I believe he's going to walk out the front door, personally, that's what I believe. And I've been saying that for a while. He's going to walk out the front door. But for the fact that none of the RICO stood, and the only thing they can get him on is transportation. I truly believe he's going to walk out the front door. But this also, like I said, this is a huge W for people who want to say, listen, these women are not innocent, and we have to stop treating them as such. We have to stop doing this and saying, oh, just because they come to court that she's innocent. She's not innocent. And Cassie did herself no favors. She shot herself in the foot. She's threatening to kill people. She did no favors for his case. And this is a huge failure on the part of the prosecution by even calling her, because I don't think they did their homework on this. I don't think they did their homework on
I
her
don't think so either.
because when they
Trey, you pause for a second. Trey, go out and come back in. What's going on, King? What's going on, Ty?
What's going on, love? How you doing?
I'm good. How you been? How y'all been?
I'm good. And they got me out here, and we out here in this Nashville heat. Yeah. I came up on a good property out here, so it's worth the trip. How you been?
Good. What's
Good.
your thoughts on this whole situation? Then Trey, I'm gonna come back to you, Trey.
It's this whole thing. Like if everybody had been paying attention from the very, very beginning, this whole thing, this has to be one of the fakest prosecutions in U.S. history. I mean, come on, people. Diddy and Cassie were together for 11 years, right? And over the course of this 11 years, right, what were some of the things that Cassie was doing that nobody seems to be talking about, but was very, very telling, right? Some of the things that Cassie was doing over the course of this 11 years is that she was cheating. Cassie was dealing with other men. So how in the hell are in a situation to where you are being controlled, you're being manipulated, you're being trafficked, you're being this, you're being that, but you're dealing with other men? She was cheating. And not only that, after it ended for a moment of time and Cassie got with Ryan Leslie, she cheated on him with Diddy. What are we doing? What are we doing? And Jane, the other girl, Jane, she was just, I mean, that you got to give the process. I hope Diddy paid them $10 million each, because Jane was completely, she wasn't even believable, because even to this day, Diddy is still dealing with her. They're still dealing with each other because he's still paying her rent. And Jane even testified that she was still dealing with Diddy up until the time he was arrested. What are we doing? What are we doing? Do you so guys, when you talk about racketeering, right? That means you are the big dog. That means you Frank Lucas. That means you Al Capone. That means you El Chapo. That means you running shit for real. You pushing weight, you murdering, you running all types of prostitution rings, you doing all type of stuff, right? That's what racketeering, that's what that statute was created for, was to go after mob bosses, to go after organized crime. So in a organized crime enterprise, right? That means that other people within your organization committed crimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how in the hell are you a part of this big organized crime network by yourself? He had no co-defendant. He had nobody else. Nobody else was charged with a damn thing. Mm-hmm. So you mean to tell me you were the leader of a criminal enterprise alone? You didn't have nobody killing nobody. You ain't had nobody running I'm talking just a drug mule from that sense right now. But you ain't got nobody. You ain't got no muscle. You ain't got no killers on your payroll. You ain't got no people transporting drugs all over the place. You ain't got none of that. You're just by yourself. That's why this case, and I said it a long time ago, if Diddy put together a good enough team, they was gonna blow this out the water. This was incredibly embarrassing for the U.S. prosecution on this case. It was embarrassing because this was a complete overcharge, and the prostitution for transporting them over state line, that's flying a chick out. That's essentially what that is. You done flew a chick out, you done bust her down, you done sent her home. That's essentially what that is. So he's walking out of that courtroom today. I'm telling you, everybody stay by your phones. DeeDee is walking out that courtroom today.
Yep, I agree. Trey, go ahead, finish what you're saying, and then I'm gonna let Ty go.
Yeah, I mean, just to get back to it, I mean, if we're the prostitution charge, you can charge every basketball player, every rapper, every athlete, every rich billionaire. Hell, you could charge me. I
You
didn't
can
pay for a
charge
few
me.
flights and
Charge me too.
and a few Ubers myself from DC to Maryland. Okay, I've crossed state lines to do it. You could charge a lot of men for this. I think. Listen, I never thought he was going to get off scot-free. I never said that. I did think something was going to stick because they had to. But I think that ultimately, I think the jury did a good job with this. I know once they started to pull back some of the instructions on the RICO, I was like, yeah, they got nothing. They knew it. They knew it. They got nothing on this man. And kudos to his defense attorney for not pushing, because sometimes lawyers will want to go harder when they don't necessarily need to. I want you guys to really think about this. This is a federal trial, and the prosecution shot themselves in the foot. I want you to think about that for a second. Defense really didn't do much. They refuted a few things from that Cassie said, but they didn't have some elegant long list of people to come up and they didn't even have anybody go up there and say, Diddy's a great guy. And he paid for my house when I was going to be, none of that happened. They sat back and they let the prosecution literally shoot themselves in the foot throughout this whole thing. And so, look, like I said, this is a positive for those who are trying to fight that fight. I think it's a fruitless fight in the end. I don't think you'll ever win this whole accountability thing, but it is a step in the right direction. I do hope that the judge, I think they're going to do a hearing at like 5 p.m. or something like that. So I think I have a feeling he's going to walk out the front door. I think he deserves to walk out the front door. And then when the sentencing does come, I think time served with probation, I think that's sufficient enough. I know the max he can get is 10 years. I think he can get 10 years for this. I think he will already serve somewhere close to 2 years. I think 2 years with an additional 5 years of probation, I think that's sufficient enough. And I think we've seen enough from the federal prosecutors. These federal prosecutors need to be better. This was a shit show.
Oh yeah,
they need to be better. This was terrible.
It was. This was garbage. It was garbage from the jump, though. It was complete garbage from the very, very beginning. Because when the prosecution tried to bring up those text messages between Diddy and Cassie, and particularly, they was only showing certain things. So they were saying, look at this, look at this, look at this. And what the defense was doing was like, well, wait a minute. Why you stop right there? Scroll down just a little bit more.
Right.
And this is what, I mean, bro, did y'all hear some of the things that this woman was doing? Because listen, I'm under the assumption to where if Diddy is charged with transportation of prostitutes, why the hell ain't Cassie? Cassie paid for a lot of these dudes. Cassie set up a lot of this stuff. This isn't what we have interpreted. This is the shit she said. They proved it. She was setting a lot of this up, and including Jane. And even with Jane, the reason why Jane was really ripped apart is because one of those male escorts she was dealing with outside of Diddy. She was still messing with the dude. So what is we doing? What are we doing?
That's why he's
embarrassing. Embarrassing.
Yeah, can I say this before you let Ty go?
Yeah.
If you weren't on Diddy's side before this trial comes, your ass in hot water.
Yeah.
He is, and I don't blame him. I would go exactly the way that Trump went when he got back in office. I would go after every single person who didn't have my back while this was going down, who severed ties with me. You didn't want to be cool with me. You didn't want to be seen with me. You didn't want your name attached to me. Everything I know and every bit of evidence I have on you, turning you in. I have no loyalty to you from this point on, because this was an opportunity for you to show your loyalty, and a lot of people they backed out on.
Kanye,
some family.
Kanye showed his loyalty. I mean,
yeah, Kanye, because Kanye ain't stupid. He knew what time it was.
he but everybody
people
else,
think that's a stupid man. That's not a stupid man. Kanye is not a stupid man.
Right. Irving Hunt, thank you for the super chat. Says you guys have to remember, could have gone other way. R. Kelly in jail for racketeering. His crimes were solo. So when they want you, they will get you. Thank you for the super chat, Irvin. Yeah.
R. Kelly was a bit different because his was about kids. So
and there was video evidence.
Yeah.
Lots of it.
Yeah,
Lots of
about
it.
kids. Yeah,
Ty,
so
what's
R.
your
Kelly
thoughts
was a
on
bit
it?
different.
Yeah.
So one, I think the prosecution, if you need to be mad at anybody, be mad at them because they overcharged and underdelivered. And one of the biggest issues that I have is that I don't know who did it, whether it was the federal prosecutors or whoever. They have a way of leaking all of this information to contaminate the jury pool. And then on top of that, when we all heard the charges, everybody was thinking, oh, he was kidnapping girls. He had these people going out scouting for these girls or women and kidnapping them and trafficking them. Everybody thought he was done. But when the facts came down, all these women were willing participants. None of the stuff happened that they talked about. And I think one of the biggest issues is that, well, see, I'm not saying that he's not guilty or he's not a bad person. What I am saying is charge the person with the crime that he's been accused of. They tried to fabricate shit, frame a narrative that he was this bad person, get everyone emotionally involved, and then facts be damned, charge him on something that wasn't related to the crime. Like we all saw the videotape of him abusing Cassie, but you didn't charge him with that. But you're putting that into evidence to bolster the claim of charges that you didn't even charge him with. So I'm actually happy he got off because what that means is that's almost like them picking you up for jaywalking but framing you for something else. And I think that most of the people, like Cassie, the other girl, I think they should have been charged too, just like Trey said. Because and if you were a part of prosecution, well, he was paying and you were selling your services.
Yep.
I mean, this whole just believe women narrative is bullshit because a lot of these women are willing participants, but then when it no longer serves them, they want to claim, oh, well, he did me wrong. Well, why did you keep the money? Why did you keep taking the money? Because he would stop paying my rent. Well, go get a job like everybody else. Right? So, I mean, I think it was the right conclusion, and I think Trey was also right because I think that he should get off with time served because they reconvene at 5 o'clock to see if they could set a bail hearing for him, right? But they keep on saying if he was the average Joe, he would get it. Also, he already should get time served, and then like 5 years probation or whatever it is, because nobody is saying he's going to get the max. Because first of all, it's criminal history. There's no minimum because it's not that high of a charge, and it's like almost impossible for him to get the max. It's just like ridiculous. So,
yeah. At this point, it's a state charge, ain't it?
No, it's still under federal law. But what he can do is hit his boy Trump up and say, listen, I need you to go after Cassie and all this. You know how they did you? They doing me like that too. Overturn it. Go after them. Be done with it. So, yeah,
I can guarantee you that Trump has somebody in his office watching his case closely. Because people don't realize Diddy and Trump are friends. They are good. They are good friends. I guarantee you somebody's watching his case closely in case Trump needs to jump into action to get his boy out.
Because what he's going to do, he's going to claim, well, this is a miscarriage of justice, just like they went after you. And it's been this orchestrated plot of taking down a lot of black powerful men. This has been a hit job. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why I'm happy that he got off, because this whole thing of just, you're just a victim. Because what we see time and time again, a lot of these women are just lying.
Yep.
You're just lying. And like, we're fed up with it. We're fed up. Everybody's fed up with it.
What's gonna happen? What y'all think gonna happen with Tory Lanez?
I think
I don't know. Once you get convicted and once you're in jail, it's so hard to overturn that. It's so hard to overturn that. And Trey probably can attest to that. Because a lot of times those people don't get out. You know, Puff got money. That's the reason why he
getting your conviction overturned in appeals court is extremely difficult.
Right.
Extremely difficult without a legitimate smoking gun, like without Meg coming and saying, I think I made a mistake.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I think I was confused, or I was pressured by my attorneys to tell this story versus, you know what I mean? Like it would have to be something along those lines. I tell you one thing, though, that man deserves to be out of prison. He doesn't deserve to be where he is.
Yep.
I don't believe he deserves
like the corruption in the case, like one of the cops corrupted, planted evidence, you know, the DA, something like
a Mark Furman and an OJ Simpson, even though that didn't work for him.
Right.
In a civil case, it didn't. In a civil case, it didn't work for him. In a criminal case, it did work for him. But yeah, you need something along those lines. You need something really, really, really big to happen. But you know, that man. That's another one of these situations where it's like you don't have any evidence. You had no gun residue on his hand. You have nobody saying they legitimately, credibly, a person that was credible and saying, "Hey, I saw him firing the shots." You know, she can't even recall. She lied. She lied about the relationship that she had with him. Remember, she came out on what's that, Oprah's Gail show and said, "Okay, I lied about it." So she shot herself. And this is again takes me back to the Cassie case. This is situation. This is where I said Cassie cast so much doubt on her own. On her own, she cast doubt. It's the same thing in this case. Meg cast doubt on her own. You were the one sitting up there lying. You couldn't just tell the truth and say, "Yeah, we were smashing. I like him." You couldn't just be honest about it. No, you had to lie. So you lied to the public, and you want to get me to believe that everything that you say happened the way that it happened that night? No, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only thing that Tory Lanez got coming is maybe he get parole his first try. That's all I think Tory Lanez gonna get.
Yeah, I think that the Tory Lanez, I think that man should be out of. He shouldn't be.
Yeah,
even
for
with
sure.
the evidence of us seeing she cut her feet on on glass. It's crazy to see all this. Go ahead.
Yeah, but was there any hard evidence other than that? No, right? Because, and I think Trey is right, because there's no hard. No, I'm talking about hard evidence.
Well, she was technically shot. She was technically shot. So the way that it reads for shooting is if shrapnel even enters into your body, you're technically considered shot. Like so if the round goes out and it bursts, right? Like say it hit the ground and then it bursts and all the shrapnel from the burst went into your foot. Technically, you got shot. You know what I mean? It's a weird thing that they do because that's what happened.
But if it's shrapnel, but not if it shrapnel considering glass.
Well, see, that's the thing. I don't think it was glass. I think it was shrapnel. According to the doctors, they were pulling out bullet fragments, right?
Oh, they were.
So
Trey, there are several doctors. A couple doctors said it was how you say shrapnel. Then others said it was glass. There's conflicting evidence from doctors.
Because that's what I heard. Right.
Some said it was glass. Some said it wasn't. It was not fragments from bullets.
So then that leads me to the point that I was making before. Again, right? In order to convict somebody, this needs to be beyond a reasonable doubt. So was she even shot? Can we even prove that she was shot? No.
But then also, wouldn't this like go into who's lying? Why did you lie? You know, was this a setup? They'll have to go and go through all of that all over again and to show, you know, that and why were there these conflicting information and stuff like that. So I don't think they want to do all of that. Because
of course not. And the prosecution certainly doesn't want to go through all that because they won their case. So they don't want to go through all this all over again. Remember, lawyers work on wins and losses. So they don't want to go. They don't want to go through this all over again. So yeah, I mean, they're going to fight against this. I personally, like I said, I think he was framed. I don't know why he was framed exactly, but I do believe he was framed. I think that they pinned that on him, and I also think he knows. I think he knows who pulled the trigger, but for whatever reason, he won't say it. You know what I mean? He won't tell him the person. And have they ever found that bodyguard? Did they find that bodyguard? No. Okay.
Well, yeah.
They found him. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know it.
he said that Tory's not the one that shot. And when you look at the video of the actual night that they recently put up, you could hear the police asking Meg, "What happened to you? Did you get shot?" She was like, "No, I didn't get shot. I didn't get shot." There's also her stepping on the glass. We see her step on the glass. She's standing up there. If she supposedly had got shot that night. She's standing up there like nothing's wrong.
What?
Well, I could be honest. I've been on some cases where people didn't even know they were shot. I know several guys that got shot in the calf or got shot in the shoulder, and they didn't even realize they were shot. We had to tell them, like, "Hey, yo, you got shot, right?"
That's a girl. She's gonna be crying, "Oh my God," and screaming if she got shot. She's standing there hopping and like just standing there. She said she didn't get shot, so I'm gonna believe what she said. She said, "No, I didn't get shot." No, and then look, I think the whole thing is shady.
But think about this, DeeDee. Just within this last 5 minutes, how much doubt have we cast?
Enough to where this man needs to be out of jail.
He need to be out of jail.
Crazy.
He needs to be out of jail. Yeah.
I hope he gets out because I don't believe he was shot.
But that's doubt, and it's not enough.
Not enough evidence.
Because it is like I was watching this debate last night. It was with Candace Owens versus 20 liberals.
Yeah.
And she made a point. She said, you saw that, right? And she was like, yeah, you may say we live in a patriarchy, but we live in a very matriarchy society because women have all of this influence. And just by the sheer belief, because she was up and coming star, she was a woman. So they just did anything to pin him because they were even lacking evidence, right? They were lacking evidence because he didn't even have GSR in his hands.
Nothing.
And they refused to test the other girl. But unless you introduce new concrete evidence, there's almost no way to overturn that. That's the problem. So they really just, I feel like they convicted him on circumstantial evidence. You know, that's how I feel about it. I don't know.
Yeah. I think I don't believe the Meg Thee Stallion girl. I don't believe her at all. Yeah, you lied too many times. She lied about how it happened. She lied about where he was at. First, she said he was standing over them. That isn't he short? He was standing. She's tall as hell. He was standing over you and shooting. And then he was in the back seat, and then he was this. It's too much of conflicting information. It doesn't.
And then she said that he was saying dance like Harlem Nights.
Yeah, dance beat.
Right. I remember that.
It ain't even hit that on tape. MTR, I know y'all know MTR posted a video of that whole thing. Yeah. Nobody heard no dance beat. I don't believe her. And I know a lot of women mad about that, but it just don't add up, and you have to be able to prove they left out a lot of information from in the case. So yeah, I think there was some type of motive to arrest him. It was a setup, in my opinion, and I just don't think that hopefully he can get something to reopen the case and present new evidence or whatever, because I just don't think and how long he in jail for?
10 years.
He didn't do 10 years. Jail for 10 years. Was your foot was just for a foot? Shouldn't that been like probation or something?
Even if he does, let's say that the appeal goes through. There's no guarantee he doesn't get deported.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because he is a Canadian.
So let's say he gets out. There's no guarantee that somebody says, send him back to Canada.
Yeah, but I bet you prefer to be in Canada than in jail. I know that shit.
Oh, for sure. I would take Canada. over jail too. But you know what I mean? Like he's not going to go back to this lifestyle of let me put out some records and go back to touring. That's not going to happen. Even with Diddy, this is going to take Diddy a while to recover. People are going to have to forget about him for a little while. It's going to take 5, maybe 6 years, and then boom, he can pop back up. Maybe he slides in a movie or something, does something fun. It's going to have to be comedic. He's going to have to ease his way because the court of public opinion thinks he's fully guilty. The court of public opinion, social media thinks this is a guilty man and he's a disgusting person and he deserves to be at the bottom of the prison. So they're not going to forgive him immediately. It's going to take him a while.
Yeah, he just needs to start dropping some new hits and it'll be a wrap. When he does that, that's what's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know.
Let me ask you
But
this. Let me ask you
it's like the
if
same
you
thing that happened with Sean.
let me ask you
Sean got
this.
deported too.
If you're up and coming artist and you've been struggling to get out there and you're performing one night and Diddy walks in and he says, I want to sign you to Bad Boy. Yes or no?
Of course not.
Oh no. I think that would be I had to listen. No, why? I would have never signed with him in the beginning, earlier on. That was a no. Hell, I know people who no, I wouldn't have signed to him in the, in the 80s, whatever, 90s, whatever. Nah. Even then. So I'm just saying.
Well,
Let me say I'm a changed man. That's my past. I'm humbled. Because that's what the word that's coming out of it. A lot of this is that this whole situation has sort of humbled him a
Who's
little.
signing to Diddy in 2025?
I'm just saying, if you're a struggling artist and you need to get out there,
you don't want to struggle some more. You want to just struggle some more with that.
Yeah, but you know what? I think also that is a good point, Trey. But I think also because of how he conducted business, and I think it's not just him. I think it's all across the board with the music industry, how artists are being robbed. So I don't even think artists are so caught up on getting record deals anymore because they are making pennies on a dollar. You know what I mean? So regardless of what, I don't think they would sign the Bad Boy because you know the hell that Mace went through and the Locks and all of them to get out their contracts. I don't think people are so quick to sign up to these big record companies in general. So with a bad reputation and the way this industry is set up, I don't think most artists are just going to jump on the bandwagon anyway. That's why a lot of people release solos and put their stuff on streaming independently.
You know who I'm most interested to hear from?
Who?
Carisha.
Who is that?
Alicia Keys?
No, Carisha.
Oh, child, she already posted.
I know. I saw the Justin Bieber thing.
She had no problem. She did her part. She got her coins. She said, "Oh, child, he ain't do me nothing wrong." She on his side. He's probably gonna have her in his. She gonna go over to the house and hug him and say, "Daddy, you home? I'm so happy." She had no problem. She played her part. She said nothing crazy.
Young Miami.
Young Miami.
Oh, Young Miami. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's her real name, Carisha. Carisha ain't got no problems with Diddy.
I can't wait to hear what she has to say because I got to be honest, she did exactly what she was supposed to do, which was say nothing.
Right.
Which was say nothing, and I got to be honest with you, I was impressed, DeeDee. I was impressed because she could have turned. She could have turned at any point.
She did not. Exactly. She did not. She because if that's what you're gonna do, be real about it. You know what I mean? Be honest. I'm just like people. It's so fake and a bunch of fake fuckery. I'm sorry. It's just that's the word came to my mind. If
it's the right word.
You know what you signed up for. You enjoyed that. You enjoyed what y'all golden showers. I call them the pissy showers, but I forgot they call them the golden showers. Golden showers. You had a good time with that man. I feel like they had a good chemistry. She knew what she signed up for. She went with it. So why turn around because it seems unpopular and everybody else is turning? I don't like that. Stick to what you believe and because it would be fake. It would be a lie. Don't do that. So yeah, she stood on business. She knew what their relationship was. She didn't turn around and say, "Oh well, you know, he did this to me and I really didn't like that, but he was paying me." No, she's still gonna be in good standing with him.
And let's also remember that the public is very fickle. Like the crowd is very fickle. 1 minute they don't like you, the next minute they love you. You know, I'm from DC. We had a mayor that was smoking crack and got caught.
Marion Barry?
Yeah, Marion Barry. And he got reelected, DeeDee. He got reelected. This is why I tell people stop getting so wrapped up in what the comments say, because people change their mind all the time. They move with the wind. They don't really stand on anything. You know what I mean? So while all these people hating him right now, in 5 years, if he marries Carisha, they have a beautiful family. They'll be like, you know what? He came a long way. Chris Brown. Yep. Chris Brown's another great example. They hated that man. Oh, he did this, even though I think Rihanna started that whole thing, and she's beating the hell out of him in a car. Person, that's what I think.
Well, you know what? That came out.
They hated that man, and now they're paying $1,000 just to take a picture with him.
Yep.
And he's breaking up couples.
What you mean?
Because when he was paying for those pictures, do you know how many couples broke up? I want to go see Chris Brown. F that, and I don't care. So,
So that's why I say don't get so wrapped up in the emotions of how people feel right now at the moment, because it is an emotion. They're wrapped up in it right now. Let's see how you feel 2.5 years from now when he decides to pop back on the scene with a new music, a new music venture or something like that. I want to see how they treat him then. Because I'm telling you right now, if R. Kelly came out right now and said I'm going on tour, I guarantee that place will be packed.
Yeah.
Packed.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, I agree. They're gonna go see. Yep. They ain't gonna even. Yep. But
Even
the
the idea of listening to his music, DeeDee. I remember the time people like, yo, you don't listen to music. If that has even eased off, the younger kids, Gen Z was doing a challenge to his music.
Yeah, because he has good music.
He has great music. He's one of the greatest of all time. Yeah.
I think they know how to separate that from the talent. And I think, honestly, if I'm going to be 100% honest, I think you should. I think you should separate personal from the talent.
Of course you should, because I'm not buying your music based on your personality. I don't know you. Right? I'm buying it for your artistry. Because if that were the case, then a lot of musicians all throughout history have been accused of sexual assault and all this other stuff. Half of the stuff, what Elvis married his cousin, 13-year-old cousin or some shit like that. So it's like, what are you guys talking about? I don't know these people. I buy them based on their music. And personally, I think we are far too wrapped up into Hollywood. Hollywood do a whole bunch of weird shit, but not only that, a lot of the life that they live, most people want. And most people are jealous because they can't get it. So that's why these women are so quick to sign up for it. But then they want to play victim when shit hits the fan, they want to play victim. You want to know why? Because normally they're trying to set themselves up to get into the civil lawsuit.
Yeah, I think they yearn for that life until they get a small taste of it. Michael Jackson couldn't go to a grocery store. You understand that? Like, I want you guys to think about how often you go to a grocery store. You just go. Nobody knows you. Maybe you might bump into somebody you might know from time to time. But they used to call Michael Jackson a master of disguises. This man had to go through an entire change up of who he was as a person just so he can go outside. That is insane to me. I would not. I don't know if I would want to live that type of that life. Yeah, that seems a little crazy to me. It seems a little crazy to me. But this idea that Hollywood sets the standard. Well, I call it Hollyweird for a reason. There's some very, very weird individuals, and what they're asking you to do to get to where you got to get to. Sometimes there's no telling what some of these people have had to do to become the #1 Hollywood actor. Who knows what they had to do? I mean, the Weinstein cases, it really shed a light on what we kind of thought women were doing to get to the top. You know what I mean? We kind of figured, we kind of thought they were doing it, but now we know for a fact, oh yeah, y'all were definitely doing this to get to the top. So when you see these women, it's like, yeah, you want to emulate them, but you have no idea this girl probably sold her soul to get there. And that's why, if you listen to the music now, think about the music over the last decades. It's almost like a depressive sort of tone to their music these days. They're talking about, unaliving themselves and things like that. It's like a depression. When I was growing up, it was all simp music. It was all R&B and love, and we in love, and then it eventually moved into rump shaking and all that, all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? But there was a point in time where it was about being in love, and now it's about trying to not take too many Xanax in one day. Like it's crazy.
Well, yeah, it's all about using drugs and being depressed, right? And strip club music. That's pretty much what we got.
J-Rock, thank you for the super chat. He says R. Kelly was not charged with not one minor. Even the judge in his trials acknowledged these were grown women. R. Kelly's accusations were not solo. Everyone involved got immunity except him. Thank you, J-Rock, for the super chat. So Testimony says they say birds of the same feather flock together. Successful MD also says, no, Trey, they took on a Becky nose job. What are you talking about?
You talking about Michael Jackson?
Okay. Thank you, Successful MD. I appreciate you. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I thought R. Kelly's case was weird too, though.
I mean,
No, I didn't think his case was weird. I thought his case was just and right. I saw that video what he did to that girl.
Well, how old she was? Well, like 14?
Oh, you mean the one from back in like 2000, right? 2001,
Yeah,
something like
the
that.
one where he
Yeah, I
urinated
saw
on the
that.
girl and she was dancing, and I seen that video. That girl was clearly underage.
But the funny thing about it is, see, R. Kelly was stupid. He got off with that, and the public forgave him because that's when he came out with "I Believe I Can Fly." After that, and then his dumb ass went right back in and did worse.
Yeah, issues.
You know what I'm saying? So he didn't even take his second chance. Like, yo, I got off. I need to chill. He did the exact same thing, if not worse. He was kidnapping these girls. He was holding them hostage in their house. So R. Kelly case was completely different.
Well, let's say he got off long before that because he was married to Aaliyah. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
so
that's true.
He got off before that. And so that's why I said I think his case was just because he had several opportunities to sort of clean up his act,
right?
And he never took them.
But even him marrying Aaliyah, right? It was a different time because most of the time, the way the public view situations like that, oh, she's famous, she could do whatever she wants to do. She's essentially grown. That's kind of how we saw it back then. But you are right because he got off several times and he just didn't get the hint. God was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I gave your ass so many chances. Now you got to pay." So
yeah, I mean, how many you drowning in the sea? How many boats he got to send you? You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
exactly. I know that's right. I sent you Marines, I sent you boats.
Yes. So for me, the R. Kelly, I think he's probably where he deserves to be.
I think R. Kelly is a little slow though.
He is. He can't read.
He's what do you call him? Like a savant.
A savant.
A savant. Thank you. A savant. Like he's brilliant at one thing. Like he's great at writing songs and making music, but the rest of it he's like awkward and detached from. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you want to know another thing? He didn't have PD money to really get the best defense either, because he was like $50 million in debt when he went into that court case. See, P. Diddy still was up. He had the best. Whoever his lawyer, everybody need to be using that lawyer.
So when we were on last week, I was talking about how you beat court cases. You need money. I don't know how else to put that. You need money or you need a smoking gun. And in most cases, you're not going to have a smoking gun. So you're going to need a lot of money. And to your point, Ty, him being a pseudo billionaire or a billionaire definitely helped him. Definitely helped him.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because he can afford it.
Yeah.
But listen, again, that doesn't mean there isn't more coming down the pipe. I truly believe Trey Songz is up next. I think he's got some issues. There's going to be more guys that are going to come after.
Trey
Wait a minute, what was Trey Songz accused of again? I forgot. I heard it, but I forgot.
He's had some cases that have gone. They've settled where he's had some inappropriate actions with women. He's been accused of some things, but I think they wind up settling. But somebody's not going to settle eventually. I just saw a video of him. He was almost got into a fight at a little thing. Yeah, Trey Songz. Yeah. So and it's not just him. You still got Shannon Sharp, still got to deal with his situations. So this is not going to stop because a lot of these guys, I've said this before, lawsuits are the new divorce for these guys. A lot of these women know that when they're dealing with these rich men, you're not going to marry me. They know that now. You're not going to marry me, right? And so now they're trying to find other ways. So the civil court is giving them an in. That's giving them in to say, hey, look, okay, just bring your case here. We'll get you the same money as what you would have gotten in a
divorce.
In a divorce, yeah.
Right. And that's why that football player that blocked that girl that tried to hug him, he was like, nah, I'm good. Get that out.
Right, and that was smart. That was Jamar Chase. He plays
extremely smart.
But that's the thing. That's when I talk about men protecting themselves. That's where you're going to have to be. You're gonna have to be at this point now that when you're out and about, like Keanu Reeves for one. A lot of guys know Keanu Reeves. Plays John Wick. When he takes pictures with women, he puts his hand behind them, but he doesn't touch them. They showed a picture of him from behind when he's taking pictures with women. He doesn't like, you know how you put your hand behind, you might grab him around the waist. He doesn't touch them at all. Like that's where we're at. Like anything.
It is bad. Yeah,
anything can be misconstrued. Anything can be misconstrued. You may say something you didn't intend on it being that way. You didn't mean for it to come off that way. Maybe there's an Italian soccer coach after they won a championship. He kissed one of the girls on the lips. He going to prison. He in prison.
Oh my God.
Did he go to jail?
Here's the funny part. The girl didn't have a problem with it. It was the other girls who convinced her.
That's some bullshit.
You know what I'm saying? He was excited. He was happy. He got a little carried away. No doubt about that. Absolutely. No doubt about that. But you know what I mean? But he was excited. He just won a championship with his girls. He was like, man. And they were getting their awards or shake. I forgot what but they were kind of moving down the line. And he hugged her and he kissed her. And it's just like, oh man, you know, it's like, boy, you know, so a lot of these guys have got to be careful when you are dealing with women, because if they can get a dime off of you, they're going to try. What do they have to lose? I mean,
and they wonder why men don't want to get married. They don't want to deal with them.
Especially guys who have money. I was reading a report yesterday. Apparently Jeff Bezos' prenup is insane.
Well, it has to be. Like it has to, because his board of directors,
Yeah, they said it took over a year to write that prenup. Could you imagine?
Yeah, because you want to know what? Because see, if you don't get if you own a corporation or enterprise like he does, they have to, because the investors, the board of directors, they need to protect their assets too. So they will force you to write a prenup. And it's smart because remember, when he divorced his wife, she became the richest woman in the world. Because she walked away, what, 30, 40 billion?
37 billion.
Yeah, shit, I need to meet her. Like, listen, I'm not greedy. Just give me, like a 500 million.
And Ty, she's a great example. Women always want to date up, but she'll never be able to date up, right? But no, she married. She got remarried. She married a high school teacher.
Oh, she did?
Yeah. And she divorced him in 2 years. They didn't make it. Because why? He's not a billionaire.
Exactly. Hypergamy at play. Right?
So
the reality is she's never going to get a man on her level because Jeff Bezos is the second richest man in the world. It's just not going to happen.
She's never going to find a man, Artie, ever.
Yep.
There's what, a couple thousand billionaires, and a large majority of them are already married.
Married, 75% of them are married. But not only that, she's still used to Jeff Bezos. He is the second richest man in the world. The only way it's going to happen if she dated Elon Musk. And he don't want her, she old.
Well, Elon about to get deported, so there's that.
Oh, yeah, that bullshit. That bullshit right there. That would be a big mistake. That would be a huge mistake.
I'm just being funny. But listen, neither one can lead each other. The government can't lead Tesla, and Tesla can't lead the government. They have to work together. That's the agreement they entered into, and that's the way it's going to be. So I don't even know why they're going down that road. They just like I said, mommy and daddy are fighting. They'll be all right.
Right, exactly. Because the reality is with them is like, if it weren't for Elon, those astronauts would still be trapped in space.
Exactly. And if it wasn't for the government, the loan they gave Tesla the loan. A lot of people don't know that. They gave him the loan. He had to pay it back. He actually paid it back early. So they're tied, they're intertwined, they're tied together. They're not going, they're just fighting. They're just upset and they're fighting with each other.
Trump is not completely stupid. He's not completely stupid because he knows that
he ain't important. He just talking shit like they always do. Like he always do. But the whole point in this and these cases, I've been talking about the DDG and Holly Bailey case a lot too. These are all great learning tools for young men who are aspiring to have, a boatload of money. You need to understand what you're dealing with when you get to this, and stop thinking that, I've said this before. I said this last week. Just because she's pretty does not mean she's innocent. A lot of these women out here are sex crazed. I'm trying to tell you. And the Cassie case is great because it shows
That's why I met some of them. Thank goodness.
they want this sometimes more than you do. They want these things more than you do. They want these these fantasies. I can't ask you how many men have had a great fantasy in their life. Most men have never had a great fantasy.
I don't know
in their life.
why. I don't know why men assume that women don't like having sex. Let me tell you something. Women are worse than men. Far worse.
You think so?
I know so. I know so. Because I mostly all the women I've been with, I don't have to ask. It's always them. And I just play victim. That's all I do.
Look, DeeDee, I once dated.
Oh yeah. I'm like, no, I'm not in the mood. They're like, shut up. I'm like, okay. That's it.
I once dated a Jamaican when I was in the Air Force. She was
As long as she's into you, you don't have a problem. Now, if you get someone that doesn't want to give it up, that just means you got it done. That's what it is. But a lot of men just don't know what to do. So, yeah, because think about it. I hear more of sexual talk coming from women than men. I hear more of men talking about these women really need to get on our program. But I hear women just talking about threesomes, orgies,
yeah,
getting train ran. That's why they walk around butt naked. Most of the time. This is why they used to.
I'll prove it to you, DeeDee. I'll prove it to you. All you gotta do is
like DeeDee.
The toy industry. All you have to look at the toy industry. Who buys the most toys? Men or women?
Women.
That's right.
Women by far, right?
That's right.
Like people, and I think a lot of guys see. We as kids, when we're growing up, DeeDee, and you have boys, so you know, we kind of programmed differently to think about women sort of different. We're programmed to think the best about girls. The best, like, oh, she's sweet and she's innocent, and you must care for her and cherish her and protect her. Whereas girls are being taught to watch out for him, be careful around him, don't let yourself get in these situations. So you get a lot of boys that become men thinking the same thing. Oh no, these women aren't capable of doing this because that's not how I was raised. And then they get slapped in the face with the fact that your girlfriend had a train. I just listened to a story today where a guy found out that his girlfriend had a train ran, and come to find out this wasn't her first time.
Oh wow!
And so he's thinking she's a sweetheart and all of that type of stuff. It's like, no, like you guys don't understand it. And it's perfectly fine. But we're not being honest with men. We're not telling them the truth that you not saying it all like this, but you could come across one, and you need to be ready if you do come across one, how to deal with that. And the way I've always seen it, DeeDee, you get one or the other. You either get the one who's so far out left that make your head turn, or make your head spin, or you get one that's, she's a really good girl, and you don't really have to worry about a lot of those things. I've never met one sort of in
the middle. No, you're exactly right. That's how people are. That's why women that say, "Oh, I want a man that's like Tupac in a suit." That man doesn't exist. People are normally one way. It's like they're really bad or they're good. You understand what I'm saying? So, like this whole perception of being in the middle and customer, it doesn't work like that. And the reality is, if most men, let me tell you something. If I slept with someone on the first day, trust me, I know other men have done it. So there are certain questions that I don't ask. But
why you don't ask? You don't want to know the truth?
Why ask the question that I know she's on a lie and I know the truth? I'm experienced enough to know if I'm dealing with a hoe or not. I know these things. I'm not stupid. When your sex is that good, trust me, I know you got experience because it didn't come from nowhere. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to ride it out. I'm just trying to figure out if this is going to be long term or short term. I'm smart enough to know not to get caught up in it too deep. Because you're not gonna catch me so butt naked on payday. No, I'm smarter than that. Right? But yeah, you have to know. Like if you know, you like, yeah, she's been out there.
And she gonna do nothing but lie to you anyway.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna ask, what's your body count? I don't ask dumbass question. What's your body count?
I told you there's two lies women used to always tell. The first one is you're the best I've ever had. That's a lie. It's always going to be a lie. I guarantee you, you're not. Get your ego out of the sky. You're not the best she ever had. And two, the second one is, I don't usually do this. That's a lie too.
I'll say this. I'll say this. If she tells you she's the best that you ever had, and you didn't ask her, then that may be speaking volumes. Because if you don't ask the question and she just comes out and say it, and this woman is all up on you, there's a good chance she might be telling the truth.
She lying.
She ain't telling the truth. She lying.
Most women don't tell
hear me?
you that. Why would it sounds weird to tell somebody that? You don't really. I mean, who does that? Like, who just come out and tell you you're the best I ever had? You just enjoy it. I don't know. I think it's a lie. I think she lied.
It's a lie, DeeDee.
I don't know. I normally don't have issues.
You don't normally say it. You just your actions show it. It's great.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Wanting to do
Huh?
it. You don't usually tell a man, "Oh, you're the best I've ever had," unless you lie.
Yeah.
That's just my take on it.
DeeDee, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I wanted to add something to this conversation, and greetings to you guys as well. I think it's a great topic. I will add that I believe women are more hardcore and freakier than men.
Yeah.
There was a study on this in 2015. You guys can look it up, and it shows that women search for more hardcore porn than men do.
Oh.
And the type of hardcore porn they look up is R and many other things as well.
Yo, you know, a chick told me some wild shit one time based on that topic. She told me, I'm out on a date with this chick. She's Asian too. This was years ago. And she said, you know, every woman has an R fantasy. I looked at her. I was like, I don't think so. I think that's just you.
No.
I think that's just you.
She was crazy.
Not everyone.
I don't think they all have an art fantasy. I do.
Yeah,
think
but
there
they
are
like
I do think there are a lot more women who prefer a rougher style of sex than you think.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying our fantasy, but I'm saying, like, I'll tell you something, Trey. I dated a girl from Sweden, and when I went over to her place, this is a long time ago, and I saw that she had some tabs open and what she was I was like, whoa, what she was watching was more on the lines of R.
But see, you know what's funny?
She wanted to watch. She was cool with watching it with me. This is the point, Trey. Like, she was cool with. She like, you know, she likes to explore, blah blah blah, and like, I just entertained it. I was like, cool, you can sit there and watch it. I'm like, when she started putting it on, I'm like, I can't really watch this. I was like, cool, okay.
So, but here's a twist. So when I was growing up, I was born in the 80s. Grew up, you know, my teenage years were in the 90s, right? And I graduated high school in 2002. We were growing up. It was taboo for women to watch prom. Like girls didn't really watch it. It was the guys. The guys were so crazy and you know what I mean? It was a big thing. Like, oh, did you see, you know, black booties on ice? And, you know, it was a big thing for guys. That is no longer the case. Right. Now in today's world, you're going to see far more women actually watching this adult type of entertainment and encouraging it. I know I've seen women tell their friends, girl, you better get on OnlyFans, and encouraging this type of behavior. And it's something that, again, men have to adjust. You have to understand that this is what you're dealing with now, that you could walk in on a room and it could already be on the television. It could already be on the screen. Yeah. She was watching.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Trey, like, I think, as you said once, it's always been there. It's just social media has magnified it, because that experience with that girl was maybe more than 15 years ago. So before, Instagram and OnlyFans was a thing, you know.
Look, TikTok.
It's always been there. It's always been there. It's always been there.
TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. It's been one of the greatest things for young men, because it has helped them. The women have basically exploited themselves. They've basically told on themselves. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that's the best thing. The best thing you can do. You can learn from it, take it, and learn from it. Like we say all the time, let the women talk. You guys always let them talk, and just sit back and listen. So that way you can maneuver, on that.
Yeah, just listen. It'll tell you a lot about them. Yeah, I think a lot of women who've explored so much out there. They don't have no other choice but to go to the the prime. That's what y'all call it, corn.
Yeah.
I never was really into it. I think I watched one corn, a little bit of one when I was a teenager. This girl, and it was a girl watching it. By the way, it was a girl watching it. Surely was. She showed it to me and a couple of other girls. Oh my God. I just had to think about it. Sure did. And that was the only that's not the only one I've seen. I think I've seen another one as an older.
Not Sister DeeDee. Not Sister DeeDee.
Yeah, I'm just not into. I mean, unless me and my man is watching it together, and that's never happened. So I'm just not into it. I don't want to.
You know what, DeeDee, the first one I got, it was on it was on a DVD. And I got it from a girl.
Yeah, it was on DVD.
She said she got it from her uncle, and she gave it to me. She got it from her uncle.
Yeah,
I got it from a girl.
This. I'm a little older than you, so that was a VHS.
Yeah, I think you and I are the same age, DeeDee.
Just.
I think you and I are the same age.
With the VCR, you put it in the VCR. She had that rolling. I'm like, what?
Oh, that's right.
What'd you
with
say?
With the auto rewind.
Yeah. What you said, Ty?
I think you and I are the same age. I think so.
Yeah.
Huh?
She had that on it, probably so.
Yeah, because you want to know what it was. Yo, my grandfather had an arsenal of them. Right? One time I went in his closet, I was like, what the hell? I turned that shit on. I was like, oh, what is going on?
Child, they had the what is it on direct? What is it? Direct TV? Was it where you could just it was used to be. I seen something. I will say this. I saw this on cable TV. I think it was direct TV or something. Child, it was these men. What it was called? Where he had a wife, but he was it gay for pay? I don't know what the hell. All I know is that's what I saw. This man was doing these videos, and he was in the ring, and he was doing it with another man, and baby, that.
Okay. What the hell were you at? You know what? We don't even want to know. We don't even.
You know what it is? You know what it was? Ty, she caught what's that show used to come on HBO? She caught real sex on the Raw, because they used to do stuff like that. They would give you homosexual, but they would also give you. I mean, they would give you heterosexual, but they would give you homosexual too.
I didn't even know what that was. It was just I'm flipping the channel and I saw it, and I'm like, what?
I remember that. I remember the show that you're about. Yeah,
Dave Chappelle did a skit off of that. You don't forget that, Dave Chappelle, and he had the girl, and the girl was telling about all the nasty, freaky things.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know I was dating a."
It was like during the interview, right?
Yeah.
That
was funny. That was hilarious. But
they would do these street interviews, and they would go talk to these people and ask them, what's the freakiest thing you ever done? And they would tell them, oh, I did this and I did that.
Some people still do it, because I saw one where there's a girl. They asked her. This was recent, and she said she did something with her daddy or something. I'm like, okay, all right, next. I don't have.
Oh, I saw that. Did you see the one with? Did you see the video about the girl that said she was messing with the guy, and then the mom started giving him a blowjob and all that?
Yeah, she was nasty. She's filthy. Oh my God.
I was like, what the
she was nasty, filthy. But these people, we
listen, but we don't judge.
She was filthy. She was horrible. That was just nasty. I'm sorry.
And I'm listening, and I'm telling you, these be the same women that had these guys out here fooling. And you out here thinking, oh, she's a good girl.
Yeah, they be doing all
like,
kinds.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Till you started to do your research, you like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's not every woman. I mean, everybody isn't a freak like that. And then I'm like this: if you a freak with your husband, cool. But you freaks with all the streets, no. It's a difference.
Say the marriage bed is undefiled, right? So you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, whatever y'all agree to. So I think you should. I think once you, and a lot of these women aren't in relationships; they're single, so they out here just doing this with everybody, And I'm just like, I could see if you had one, even if you wasn't married, if you just had one guy that you dating and y'all experimenting. With adults, I could understand that, but you putting your mouth on this one and that one, and he doing this and he putting his face in your butt, and y'all doing all this with sharing and all ass and all this mouth and with everybody, like that is a recipe for disaster. I'm just saying, y'all gonna catch some disease in your mouth. that you can't cure, and everybody gonna see it.
What
Everybody
you want to
know what you got.
You want to know what's funny? I was having this conversation with my homegirl one time, and we were like, listen, she said, I've never seen a woman that been with a lot of guys that she has ever been mentally okay. I said, neither have I. Most women that go through that, they have a very warped perception of relationships
Yeah.
and life, right? That's why if you ever, because remember, even on HBO, they used to have that Hookers and Hunts Point show, if you remember. That's out here in New York in the Bronx, right? But if you ever spoke to a woman that did that, yo, they're weird. They're off. They are very weird. So, so when these women, a lot of these women got as much body as a lot of these streetwalkers,
Yeah.
and these women are not okay. They're not fit for the relationships that they see. This is why they stay single. You know, I told somebody the other day, I said, every time you have sex with a man and he ejaculates in you, he leaves a piece of genetic material in you. So right now, you're a walking graveyard. I'm just like,
they're walking petri dish.
like for real. There's
Like
many
a
bodies.
science experiment.
Yo, that shit's like World War II up in there. Like, what the fuck? So
some of these men don't care. As long if she look good, they don't care. They're gonna screw and they don't care.
Yeah, because they're giving men exactly what they want, but they're not wifing them up.
Right. They're not gonna do that. Like you said, you could tell. So a lot of y'all could tell. So you don't care if she look good and she willing to give you something, you're gonna take it and keep it moving.
Yeah, listen, we get what we can get. We're not that picky now.
That's why they distraught. That's why they don't have their mental all together. Because they don't understand. These women aren't as smart as they like you to think. They don't really understand what's going on. They think, oh, this might be something between he and I. So I'm gonna give it to him and I'm gonna give him everything he wants. And he might like me. He might take me seriously. Then when you don't, she's distraught, crying and you know, crying. And then she out to the next to see if he gonna take her seriously. And then by the time she realized nobody is taking her seriously, it's 1,000 bodies. And now she's, you know,
and then she's online hating all men. These men ain't shit.
Yeah.
They always broke. They ain't got nothing. I'm like, then why would you mess with the broke dude? You want to know why? Because that's the only person that you could get.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So, and I tell women this all the time. I'm like, why do these type of men keep coming into your orbit? Because there are plenty of men out here that's doing well, but why can't you attract them? And they never look at themselves as the common denominator. And I said, that's crazy. Right? Because even I was going through a spurt even in my life where I kept on attracting the same type of women. They were fine, but they were crazy. So then I had to say, okay, what am I doing wrong? Because I never had this before. So then I started to realize I was prioritizing looks. Right? So when I understood that, I stopped prioritizing look. I started prioritizing who the person really was. And then I got better. Huh?
Did you get a better outcome?
I guess I got a better outcome. Now I'm not gonna say the women I was with was ugly. No, they were cute. They may not have been as fine as the other ones, but they were very attractive. So, but I started getting more, you know, the type of women that men describe. I get those women more often. Because when you prioritize the superficial stuff, you can't build a life with that. You just can't.
Right.
You know, but the thing about it is men are, I could tell Trey, I could tell the other guy on the phone, I'm like, hey, maybe you should go about it like this. Men will listen. They be like, you know what, that's not a bad idea. But women, they don't listen. They think it's everybody else except for them. It's everybody else except for the man in the mirror. So that's why I'm like, I give up. Like right now, I got a homegirl. She's in her 60s. She's up there acting like she's 20. I said, you lucky to get a man with a pulse. She was like, yo, you a fucking asshole. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, because you were too old to be out here acting like you 20. I said, you talk about, oh, fuck him. You know, I'm like, you might die tomorrow. So you need to figure out what the hell you need to see. Like, listen, I keep it real. Yo, they be hating me, but they love me. Because I'm like, somebody needs to tell you this, because she has a daughter that's about my age, right? And me and her are cool. But she moved to Dubai or Qatar, I'll be at. So she told her what I said. She's like, "Yo, Ty never changed." Hell no, because I was like, "Yo, you talking about?" Because I called her man Cleophas, right? I don't know dude's name. I just call him Cleophas, right? But she was like, he's a good-looking man and all that. I was like, why you got this man stressed out? He's retired and he's talking about getting a job to give you more money. I'm like, bitch, if you don't get your ass up there and help that man out, make him some food and start acting right, what the hell is wrong with you? You are grown. I should not be telling you this shit. Oh, I can get somebody else. I'm like, you don't got no more options. Your options are gone. You old.
What she look like? Ty? She cute.
She's okay. She's okay. She's thinner. She's okay. She doesn't necessarily look her age though. But she got health issues. Yeah. I said, listen, you got a bad knee. You got the gout.
Damn. You got the gout.
Talking about here. Yo.
Trey, you'll take her. Trey, you might get some with her.
Yeah, I might be able to work with the bad knee.
What about the gout?
We get her some medication for the gout. I got VA benefits. We get her some medication.
She gotta be cute. She gotta have something going on. Come on now.
No, don't get me wrong. She's smart. She's mad cool. She's funny as a friend, but a lot of the mistakes she made, it's kind of like what you see these 20-year-olds making. I said, listen, if you never get another man tomorrow, if you know you're not going to get another man, that's the last one. Are you going to try to work it out? She was like, yeah. I said, well, that's what you need to do because you got more days behind you than you do in front of you.
Right.
Because you're like 64. Right? You got to get it together. You lucked out. You said you met a man. You said he's actually attractive. He takes care of himself and all that. Yo, stop being disrespectful to him. She has a mouth on her. And I said, I was like, I'll be honest with you. I think he's too good for you. She didn't like that. But I told her the truth. She needs to hear it. You too old for me to be lying to. So.
Well,
at 64, man, your shit's supposed to be on autopilot at that point.
Right. You're supposed to have information.
Yeah, you're supposed to have, with the grandkids, and I just think about my mom, she on autopilot right now. Man. All she want to do is hang out with her grandkids, and and go to her little social club meetings. And that's it. I see a bunch of
bingo.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen women in their 60s and they still working and they still out here trying to. They talking about the dating market. I'm like, you supposed to been out this game.
Because even for me, it gets embarrassing after a while. Talk about, oh, I'm dating. This is my girlfriend. Because you do cross a certain threshold where it just sounds immature. Because even if I go out to dinner right now, right, and I'm on a date, they are going to say, oh, so does your wife want anything? Because the assumption is, at a certain age, you're married.
Yeah.
Right. So it's crazy. There was a New York Times article with recently, a day or two ago, with a woman. She said I forgot, she's an actress. She was like, I'm in my 70s and I'm still trying to figure out if I'm gonna meet the right man. I'm like, hell no. You ain't meeting nobody. You're 70 years old. I'm like, anybody that gets with you first, dude is gonna
a Kendra G. How old was that lady? Remember that? Did we just watch one like a Kendra
she was the one who looked like Skeletor?
Yeah. She was like 70 something, right?
I think she was 60, 70 or something. Yeah. She was horrible.
It's like,
yo, did you see Kendra G with the girls she had 11 kids?
That's a new one.
I think MTR threw it up. I'll send it to you if I find. She had 11 kids, right? And she was a prostitute. She was looking. We were like, wait, what? And then she had the nerve to say that her daughter got pregnant at 11. I did
see that one. I don't know if I covered it, but yeah.
That shit was. I was like, wait, what?
They don't.
And she said, I don't believe in abortion, so I didn't want her to get abortion. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
If there were ever a case for one, that was it. And nobody thought it wasn't by like a grown man either. 11 years old, you're still in what? You're still in middle school. I mean, not middle school. You're still in elementary school.
I'm convinced that Kendra G's show has not become about actually dating. It's become about, well, the shit show that it is, for one, the comedy aspect of it. But the other part of it is, I think a lot of those women call in because they don't have nobody to talk to. They need a psychiatrist. Like they need somebody they need professional help. And that was my issue with the last one that you had on Friday. I forgot the chick's name, but I was like, yo, that woman needs some help. She was dealing with the guy that she had the restraining order against and all of that. And it's like, you don't need to be calling a dating show. You need psychological help. You need a counsel. You need therapy. That's what you need.
I don't remember that video. What video was that?
It was on Friday. She did one on Friday. It was last Friday. And the chick was up there. She was saying, because they asked her, when was the last time you had been intimate? And she said like 2 weeks ago. And it's with this guy that supposedly is stalking her. And she had to get a restraining order against. And I'm like, and the other part of this too, let me tell you something that really irritates me. And if I went on to a dating show, like say I did Pop the Balloon or something like that, went on to Kendra G, you would think that the idea is to put your best foot forward. Right? Like I want to be seen in a certain way because I want you to actually like me. These women get up on this show and it's like, you don't want us to like you. You're up there with a bonnet on, you laying in the bed, you look a mess, you're smoking, the kids is up. I know our show come on late, but you got your kids is up. Like, are you actually trying to entice somebody to want to be with you?
Well, they wrap it up and, he's going to see me like this already. And then, and men are saying, well, I'm glad I see this now because you don't give a damn. And down the line, you're not going to give a damn. So I prefer not to deal with it. And I think you're right. A lot of people coming in just for attention. But I think most importantly, a lot of these women, I think they under the hood, they know that they done. They know that they done. They know that they've built a lifetime of bad habits and nobody's willing to deal with them. And I think Kendra G more or less is the Hail Mary.
You think they throwing shit up against the wall to see what sticks?
Yup. Think about it. That's their whole focus.
Yeah, these to me are what I call the Hail Mary chicks. They're just throwing a Hail Mary in the end zone, and hopefully somebody catches it. Somebody catches it. Because there's no way in your right mind you decided at 400 plus pounds with 3 kids by 3 different men to go onto a dating show and say, oh, I'm gonna be able to go find somebody. Like there was one chick up there, she was missing a tooth. She was like 320. She was like missing a tooth. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. But I think I agree with you, Ty. I think this is 4th and 40. It's like I'm just gonna go for it.
That's a new podcast. 4th and 40.
Yeah, 4th and 40. It's like because there's nobody ever gets 4th and 40. But at the same time, too, it just goes to show we have so many people wasting time. This is the one time where I do agree with you, with y'all, DeeDee, when you talk about young couples getting together. This is where I do agree with you. But I think it has to start much earlier than that. I think that you need to be figuring out who you want to be with around middle school into high school. You need to start to work this out and then sort of grow together. I honestly think college is too late because once she starts to get a sniff of what she can do, remember, you got college athletes. You got to remember, you got NIL now, DeeDee. They get paid millions of dollars to play sports now. Right? Once these girls get into college, it's probably too late. Probably way too late.
Well, I think I mean, there's a logic behind your point, but I think that if the parents are instilling proper values into their children, then I think college would be fine. The problem is the parenting, because just like a lot of these people think that, well, oh, my mother couldn't have done that. My mother wasn't a hoe and blah, blah, blah. Well, we have a lot of admitted hoes with kids right now. Right? So what you think their kids are going to say, but we all saw it online, right? And I think it's the parenting that a lot of people are doing today because they weren't parented properly. But if you raise your kids to be wives and husbands, then once they get to college, they'll be fine as long as you start looking at that point. You know what I mean? That's how I think about it. Because
I don't know. I don't know. There's something about that level of freedom.
But that's what's getting everybody in trouble, though. That's what's
Yeah.
because it's like, and then it's taught basically. I think a lot of women have been taught, use your 20s to have that fun. Have that fun. Your 20s, go to college, get your degree, have your fun, do what you want to do. You don't need to be bogged down with no man. And they make it seem like being with a man when you're young is holding you back.
But why is it that white women can still do it for black
Because
women?
they're taught differently. Look,
And that's the point that I'm making.
those girls were still having sex. They were still doing stuff, but they somehow found a man and then they end up getting married. They didn't have that fun too long. I think, they did stuff. The white girls I worked with was talking about skinny dipping and all this kind of stuff. And then, they finished doing all that. Then they engaged. And then they get married. And the black girls dating.
White girls get it in.
So,
yeah, they do. But guess what? They get it. They get it in, and then they get it together. But black women don't, and that's what I was saying. That has something to do with the upbringing.
Yeah, because most of the girls that I grew up with, they weren't taught about marriage. Have a baby, just have a baby. It wasn't instilled in them that marriage was important,
Yeah.
And so they never even thought about it. They just like, oh well, the thing to do, have a baby. So a lot of the girls I grew up with, they all had children young. They never was married. They had children though. Children, and some of them teenagers. They were, having sex at 14 and 15, and they end up getting pregnant. And that's that. And then they have more children, and they some of them got married. Some of them actually end up getting married. A lot of them were high school sweethearts who actually got married. That happened too. So, and they still together, married, and got children in college, children out of college, not grown, out of college, living their lives. They got grandkids. So it's a mixture of all of it. But, I just think it wasn't instilled in them. And a lot of them are following the patterns of their mothers. The mothers.
But you want to know what's funny? Mothers should be even smarter. You want to know why? Because I would do it strictly based on selfishness. Because if you get pregnant and have a kid, you don't have a man, guess who's going to be watching the kid? Grandma. Right? So no, you won't go out there, get a husband, and leave me the hell alone so I can live my life because I raised your ass.
Now you got to understand something. The mama going through something too. The mama want the kid just as badly as they do. A lot of these mothers, these grandmothers out here, they want to be grandma. They're looking forward to it. They're not upset. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to these houses and there be some 14-year-old girl in there pregnant, and the mama's happy. DeeDee. She ain't mad. She's not embarrassed. None of that. She's happy because she's like, oh, we got a new little one coming to the family. And it's just like, you also have to remember, kids, especially if they're on government system, or kids, the more that works to their benefit. So there's a lot of things that was going on previously. I know things are changing.
Ain't going on no more now.
Yeah, I know things are changing now. But I'm saying,
I'm tired. I ain't nobody's baby daddy. Shit.
You have to think of the mentality that they had before. That's why I say a lot of people think that when these girls get to college, like, oh, well, if they were raised right, they had good parents. Listen, I used to run around Howard University. Them girls had daddies, and they was up there acting crazy. And they were raised in 2-parent households, and they was up there acting a fool because why? They were for the first time in a long time, if ever, they were away from their parents. There was nobody to check them, right? They may have been from South Carolina or Florida or somewhere in the Midwest. Here they are in DC, the middle of the summer. You know what I'm saying? Up at HU at a historically black college, on the yard getting it in, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a level of freedom that they've never experienced before. I saw that a lot when I was in the Air Force. A lot of the girls, they went straight from high school straight into the military. They didn't have that sort of. They didn't have freedom. And you got to remember, in the military, they put you right in the barracks, and they put you in the same barracks with the men. So the men are on the first floor, the girls are on the second floor. So it's nothing for her to come downstairs and get her back blown and go to work tomorrow morning like nothing happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to understand that. Like, I think people have to understand that you can be the best parent you want. If your child doesn't receive the good parenting that you give them, anything is up for grabs at that point.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the kids gotta want to be better.
Right.
How old is your older kid? Your eldest, DeeDee?
26.
26. Okay.
Yep, my daughter.
Oh, so she.
What a time to be alive. Time to be alive.
My son is
Tell you what,
21.
tell you what I was doing at 26.
At 26,
DeeDee.
what you was doing? My daughter is
I was changing diapers and bottles. I had a son by then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, me too. I was married too. I was married at that time.
I was living in New Jersey.
Really?
Living in New Jersey.
Where were you in Jersey?
I was stationed. I was in Jersey from the end of 2007 to 2010.
Where?
I was stationed in McGuire Air Force Base. So that's like right outside of Trenton, I think.
Yeah, Trenton. That's about an hour from me.
Yeah. That's what I was doing. I was changing bottles and diapers and learning how to be a dad. while getting my ass kicked at work every day for 12 hours, by the way.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I was changing diapers and bottles just about, back to back. So shit, that's what I was doing too. I mean, all this children I got, I felt like look, our son is 8. I got an 8-year-old. And it seemed like it took forever for him, to get out of diapers. We're like, finally. And this was when he was what? 5? No. When he got out of diapers, I think he was like, I forget how old he was. Not 5, but maybe whenever. We was like, we need to celebrate. We finally got him all out of diapers.
So, is he the ringleader? Is he the spoiled one?
Say that again. Is he spoiled?
Yeah, is he the spoiled one? They say the youngest child.
He's a little bit spoiled. A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is.
That's because he's untouchable. He's untouchable.
Right. He's the ringleader.
He's the ringleader.
I have to say he is. We kind of broke him out of it a little bit, but yeah, he is a little bit spoiled. I will admit. That's my baby. That's my baby. He's 8 years old. He getting my children are tall. He's tall already. He's tall. My kids, all of them are tall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my husband.
Yeah, my son is 6'4".
He about 6 feet. I'm like what I say, 5, 6.5, almost 5, 6.5. I'll just say. So that's pretty. I think that's pretty tall. I feel tall.
No, that's above average for them.
Yeah. I felt tall my whole life. I wish I was shorter, but when I was younger, I wanted to be shorter. But now I'm glad I'm tall because, if I was short, I would be fat. I'm just saying. I think I would be fat. I do. I think I would be fat if I was short. So I'm glad I'm tall. It kind of stretch out a little bit. I don't have to look as fat. Yeah. And my son, they're like 6'7". I mean, they're tall. They don't play basketball, but they're tall. They all are tall. I don't know how
are they musicians? Your husband's a musician, right?
Yeah. My son, they not all of them. One of my sons, he's into like guitar because my husband plays guitar, piano. Yeah, my son, my baby, he loves piano and he loves instruments as well. But their dad is surrounded by that, so they love it. We were just talking about him yesterday. He want a keyboard because he plays with my husband's stuff, but we want to get him his own. But yeah, they all of them aren't into that. But yeah, you would think people always ask, do they play sports? No, they don't really like. They're not even into sports like that.
Everybody said, "Why you didn't get your son into basketball?" And I was like, "Because I wanted him to focus on academics."
They're not even interested. Yeah.
Look, I asked my son a very simple question: you want to be on the team or you want to own the team? Which one?
Right.
He said, "I want to own the team." Then
I know
I said,
that's
okay,
right.
then. I said,
right.
then we gonna learn how to write this HTML code, and this is the route we gonna go.
Right.
You want to own the team? We're gonna get you in Silicon Valley so you can buy yourself a team.
That's
right. The goal. That's the goal. But I'm glad he said it because he has no athletic ability at all. So it worked out for him.
No.
I saw that when he was growing up. I was like, this boy can't do nothing. he ain't got no coordination, nothing. Because I'm athletic. Right. His mom, she ran track in high school, so she's athletic. Yeah. I'm looking at him and I'm like, what in the world is wrong? He wasn't.
Yeah, it's sometimes the kids surprise you.
Yeah. Yeah. I ran track too. I was athletic and all of that. But these children, they don't even like sports like that. But
the other part of it is, DeeDee,
musicians, artists.
We were outside. A lot of our
that's what I was about to say.
Came because we were outside.
Yeah.
We were running away from each other. We were doing whatever, riding bikes, whatever we was doing. So we had to we sort of built our athleticism. These kids, and I told my son, I feel bad for you. I really do. I feel bad for you. I don't think you realize the world you could have had you went outside the time I told you, go outside and go have fun. I used to tell them, go out, go explore. Did you guys see the video of the boys? There was a couple black boys and they were out exploring. It was like the greatest thing in the world. It was just like the world had like opened up to them. It was like, wait, there's a creek down there and there's trees over there. It was like, hold on, can we climb the tree? Let's try to climb the tree. I'm like, yeah, that's what we used to do. Growing up, that's what we used to do.
Trees too. We used to be on top of the school roofs and everything, running, jump, high, climbing, all that, So yeah, it's a different
going into places we shouldn't, telling the scary stories and all kinds of shit, getting afraid.
I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
That's just
like I had this old, like this kind of like this monastery near my school. Then they came up with like this Bloody Mary, like this lore, and said if you go in there, she's gonna get you. Then we trying to get in there like a bunch of idiots. It's crazy. We used to have so much fun back then, though.
Right.
Yeah,
we had this supposed ghost in our neighborhood called Old Man Hatchet. He supposedly lived in this abandoned house at the end of the street. The house was abandoned my entire life. He just like knocked it down like 5 years ago. And he was supposed to be this like Old Man Hatchet. So we would go up in the forest. People like, oh, it's Old Man Hatchet right there. We like everybody would just like take off running and go get on their bikes, man. Like, I mean, our athleticism was built in, but obviously there's no more of that. I mean, unless you actually push that way. But even I went to an AAU game. Ty, I don't know if you've been in these AAU games lately. Like, there's nothing but rich kids playing now. Like,
oh, really?
Everybody's daddy is somebody. Like everybody's dad on these AAU teams is like they either played in the league or they played in college, or you know what I'm saying? Like everybody's daddy is somebody that you like, dang. So it's different.
The emergence of AI is actually going to socially distance more and more people now, because now they're going to have more of a relationship with their personal assistants. You know what I mean? Because I don't know if you guys ever talk to, but I have like they got the Meta app. Yo, these AIs are like on point. It's much better than they have full-blown conversation. I'm like, yo, Meta. They're like, hey, what's going on? What's up? Very personable.
Yeah, Gemini is another one. I think they got one called Gemini.
Oh,
you
really?
You literally just talk to it. Talk to the whole thing like it's a normal person.
I know. Yo, it's wild. But you know what? When I have questions, they will give you some great answers. Like if I want to dig deep into a topic, I could talk about some highly technical stuff with them. I can get in the weeds. And I kind of like that.
The therapist just got put out of business. I mean, think about it. I mean, it'd be much cheaper to just talk to the AI than to go hire a therapist. There's another job. I think we talked about this before. There's gonna be a lot of jobs where if your job is gonna be taken over by AI, you can be in trouble. But I do believe universal basic income is on the way.
I know we had that discussion. Yep. I believe so too.
They were taking a lot of these jobs, man.
Because the whole manufacturing thing makes no sense. Bringing manufacturing jobs back here, it just doesn't make any sense. It's never been cost effective in a long time. That's why we outsource it. So you bring it back, people are not working minimum wage. So why are they bringing it back? Well, because you can get AI to do it now.
Let me ask y'all this, and then I gotta go. What do y'all think about do y'all think it's gonna be an issue for the jobs that these immigrants were doing, the ones who have been, sent back to their country? Do y'all think Black people are gonna start doing those jobs? So what do y'all think about that? The fact that are being deported in these jobs.
Black people ain't doing no hard work. You kidding me? You can't even get them to
they pay good. What? They pay good.
What's good pay? What's good pay? $50 an hour?
Okay, $50 an hour.
$50.
We don't have enough money.
But I'm talking about people who don't have jobs, like people who need work. All these people that got laid off from these corporate jobs and stuff. What if they need a job and they pay
$50,000 is a lot of money. I think they're not going to have a choice.
Right.
Right? If the job market is what it is and they're not going to be able to find jobs, they're going to have to do what they have to do to survive. At some point in time, survival is going to kick in. So if you got to go pluck oranges down there in Florida, guess what you finna be doing? You're gonna be down there plucking oranges, right? I think I've said this before. I'm not upset with Trump's decisions on immigration, but I don't think he thought it through. I don't think he thought it through. I think he got halfway through it and said, "Oh shit, who's going to do all the farming?" And that's why he sort of backtracked. That's why he had to backtrack a little bit, because he had to think about it. Like, wait a minute, if we sending all these illegals back home, who's going to be doing all the farming? Because a lot of them are coming over and doing it.
But that's going to be robotics, though. That's what's going to happen. Think about it.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to be. I don't think that's going to be like tomorrow. I mean, maybe 10 years from now, sure. But I'm talking about as of right now.
That's true.
You need somebody to get that work. Get somebody to get that work done.
But they don't have any legal Mexicans who are here legally who would do that work?
Sure, they do. I just think I think they're mixed in with the illegal.
Yeah, but hold on, wait a minute. If you are legal, see, a lot of times those people are paid below minimum wage. So if they are legal, they're going to say, "Fuck this! I'm going to go work at Chipotle for that case," right?
But but if they pay more, couldn't the legal ones who are here take those jobs still? Or
true, but that messes up the farmers' profit margins, and then on top of that, that's put back onto the customer. So we have this whole perpetuating cycle of inflation. You see what I'm saying?
Farmers are going to have to pay regardless, even if they go to AI. I mean, the machines got to run on something. They got to run on batteries. There's got to be maintenance, right? They still going to have to. They're going to have to pay regardless. But most companies' biggest bill is salary, so they're always trying to cut salaries. So I think, like I said, I think he overshot it, DeeDee. I think it was a good idea, but I think he didn't think it through. I think you need them here. Like I said, this to me is the easiest way to make them legal. Offer them the job, and then when you offer them the job, process their paperwork, expedite their paperwork, process it, and make them legal so they can work. It's the easiest way to do it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, this is what I've noticed in Europe. This is kind of a thing that they do here, like in Spain or in Portugal. If you are trying to come into the country, they either make sure that you have a job, you're going to learn the language, you're going to do something, or you can't come in. And they're quite strict about that here in Germany, but also, I scratch my head sometimes, like about home, in the US sometimes, that how can you make this issue, how can this issue become so big, like where, as you said, I believe that Trump did he didn't really think it through. But at the same time, why is there not anything where you can offer people jobs, rather than giving them aided money,
Well, why would you give them jobs and not aided money? Is that the
question? More sense. It would make more sense to give them the job.
Yeah,
because here
because you can get the taxes off of it. So that makes more sense. They want to work. They want to work. The issue is that whether or not they want to work, they want to work. Because most of the time, like the girl said in that TikTok video, they're gonna send the money home anyway.
Yeah.
So my thing is, if they want to work, expedite the process, get them legal, and that way they can start paying federal and state taxes for the work that they do. Let's see how badly they want to be here. Let's see how badly they want to be here now, because I guarantee you, they have to start paying taxes on that money. They may not want to stay.
Yeah, but hold on, wait a minute. But that's what Obama put in place.
That's the thing, though.
Obama put that in place already. She said, okay, if you work, you can pay taxes. Remember, he told them to come out the shadows, and it'd be okay. But then what did Trump do? He went in. Now he filed a suit against the IRS. The IRS has to give them all the information that they need to find out where all these illegal immigrants are based on their tax information. So they gave him that. I think that the issue is, I think it's far too many, and it's flooded the country. And I think they also, another thing is, they're really concerned about the American population, right? Because we are on a decline. This is why you're starting to see so many companies catering towards single women to travel. They're setting up industries. They're starting to set up an industry around this, right? So, and the problem is, if you have more illegal immigrants in the country reproducing, reproducing, then that whole replacement theory come to play. Because now, if Americans are not reproducing, but illegal immigrants are, now you're replacing American culture with your culture. And I kind of think that has a lot to do with what's going on right now. But
I don't think
also,
that I don't think that's far off.
yeah,
I think that I mean, because at the end of the day, it's a numbers game,
right,
and it's very clear that people who come over to this country are having way more babies than the people who are here in the
right,
country. You know what I mean?
yep.
So it is a numbers game. Like I said, I don't know if you have I don't know if you're gonna have a complete answer. I wonder why Obama's policy didn't work. Maybe they
Well,
didn't trust it. Maybe they didn't trust it enough to come out the shadows. I'm not sure.
but the problem is, they were still slow rolling the immigration process because these people were applying for immigration status. But I think it was like all of that protected illegal immigrant stuff. But the immigration court moves slowly, and they have so many people coming across the border, right? If it was only like 100,000 people that came across the border, maybe they could have processed them all. But they put them on a wait because immigration is just one of those issues that never has been fixed. And every year, if you're getting hundreds of thousands of people crossing the border, well, how can you manage that? That's what I think that's what really was going on.
I mean, I don't know. I don't have a complete direct answer for it. I'll tell you one thing I would like to see. I would like to see them pay more taxes. I think they need to have an American.
The whole American experience. If you're gonna be
Yeah,
here, live here, you need to do what we got to do: pay taxes, work,
Taxes?
all of that. You just can't
Yep.
come here and just mooch off the system because that's how I see it as. Y'all
Yeah.
can work, but you're not putting into. So we got to do it. We got to pay taxes on every damn thing. And for
Yep.
some people, some got to pay much more taxes than others. The more you make, the more taxes you got to pay for the
Okay.
most part. So
Yeah.
yeah, you need to be able to do the same. That way, at least you're contributing to society. You're not just taking. Because I feel like they're just taking, and then like you mentioned, you'll take it and you can kind of like live in two different worlds. Be here, make the money, and then send it back to your country and be building over there. That's not fair. Well, I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair.
Yeah. No.
it's
I
ex-
don't.
it's exploitation of the American system.
It is.
Yeah.
and
And you.
and a lot of people are using that, and like I said, this whole immigration thing really opened the eyes to a lot of people because a lot of them got on TikTok and basically told on themselves,
Expose them.
and
Yeah.
they exposed themselves and said, oh well, we only come here to get the money.
Yeah.
Okay, well guess what, you need to pay for it.
Yes.
You need to pay the country in which you are, because you have it's a privilege. It's not a right for you to come here. Right, I didn't have a choice. I was born here, so you know what I mean. That is what it is. But it's a privilege for you to be able to come over and to take advantage of the American system, so that you can buy your mama a Mexican house for 36,000 pesos or whatever the fuck it is. You know what I mean? Like that's a privilege for you to be able to do it, and you should have to pay for that.
Well,
Yep.
and you
Yep.
want to know what's interesting, because like living in New York, right? I remember I was having this conversation because long before the TikTok thing went off, right? Because you notice how when they were all coming over here, they housed a lot of people in New York and stuff like that. But long before that, I remember I knew somebody that didn't even have papers, I think. But yet you can get public assistance. And I looked at her like, hold up. And the funny thing was, she owned a business. She owned a business. Like she was like, oh, I just bought a condo for like $75,000, right? But then I see her with food stamps. I said, wait, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
So now I'm pissed the fuck off. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is this? You first of all, you just dropped 75 racks on a condo and you got food stamps?
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck does this work? Then I'm talking to my boy. My boy was like, "Yeah, you can get on public assistance if you're not legal." I was like, "Motherfucker." I'm like, how many people got
America.
pissed off? You in line. You get like $40 worth of. You get like you spend $100. You get like a little basket or something. These motherfuckers come up to the counter and they got shopping carts full of shit, and they just handing out all these WIC checks or whatever it is and doing all this stuff. I get pissed the fuck. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Oh God.
So yeah, that shit pissed me off. And then you keep having kids, and we're who paying for that? In New York, we pay the most taxes. I think New York and California, you get taxed so many times in New York, it is ridiculous. I was happy when I moved to Jersey. I felt like I had a pay raise, right? And then it's just like you keep having all these kids join the system. I'm like, I'm not your baby daddy. Why am I paying for this shit?
Hmm.
You don't even like me. I don't like your ass either. You got all these kids and I'm paying for it. So after a while, that's why when Trump was like, "Yeah, you need to get your ass up and work," I was like, "Thank goodness." Go.
I'm saying they need to pay more taxes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And they need to pay a higher rate of taxes because they're coming from another country. Like we should get the benefit because we're a citizen. I'm a citizen, so I should get the benefit. I should be able to pay a lower tax. They should have to pay more because they came from another country to earn the money to use the system. But
But how would they live though, right?
that's not my concern.
I knew you were gonna say that shit.
I don't really care, to be quite honest.
Right.
Like, that's not my problem.
That's not my concern.
Back to the matter.
They're not concerned about us, how we live. Shit, we
okay.
You gotta work hard, and people right in this country still struggling and working hard. So I mean, what's the difference? Y'all won't come here. You got to struggle and work hard too, and pay everything else.
Have you guys ever gone to other countries? They don't care how you got your money. They just want your money. They just want the money. They don't care. They be hassling you on the street. They try to go to the beach every 5 seconds. Somebody trying to sell you a lemon or an orange or some shit. Like they don't care how you got this money. They don't care. They just want your money. So why would I care? Why I don't care.
See what they should do. I think Trey, you on a point. What they should do is you do just that, right? You come here, they pay more taxes. I don't care if you have kids here, you cannot get on public assistance, right? Because you have kids, you don't get on public assistance, and they paying more taxes. And if the government does it right, they decrease our taxes.
But the fact of the matter is, if they lived anywhere else outside of the U.S., they have to pay taxes. People I know who are from Colombia who live in Spain, they have to pay the taxes. They can get away with a lot more in the U.S. They've told me. I have friends in Spain who've been to the U.S. and they've told me they have friends who've taken advantage, but you can't do that shit in Spain or in Portugal or other countries. You can't do that. You can try, but it'll be very difficult to try and get away with doing stuff like that. You have to work for yours.
Right.
People I know from South America, for example, or Central America, just an example, who moved to Spain or Portugal is completely different. I've experienced them completely different to the ones who adopted a certain mindset in the US where it's like, I can feed off daddy government. Gimme, gimme, gimme. And I'll send back money for my family or friends back in, wherever. So yeah, this is something I just scratched my head on. And when I moved to this side of the world, I've seen it. I've seen like, wow, they really take this immigration thing seriously. When I had to get my permanent residency here, they sent my ass a letter and told me I have to go to the immigration office. They find you. They told me, look, but it was more of a letter with, I'm eligible for permanent residency. So I went to the immigration office. I had to provide different paperwork that I'm earning a salary. I haven't received benefits from the government. They check all of that. They make sure I'm not leeching off of the system. They're like, okay, you know what? You're paying taxes like other German citizens here. We're going to offer you permanent residency. You really have to you can't, there's no way around it.
Right. Yeah, I gotta go. But I want to read this super chat. Trey, your son will surprise you and give you a KO. What's a KO? A knockout?
Knockout.
That's
Because I was saying he don't have any athletic ability.
Oh, okay. But a KO is a knockout, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Successful MD says you can't get rid of ants without the source. Okay. People skip over the fact of who hires them. Yeah, I pay attention to that too, Successful MD. The people hiring them. Y'all know y'all hire all these illegals. And this person told me this a friend of my daughter's had told me he was working for this place, and he was the only black person there, and all of them was illegal. So he would come and mess with them because they didn't like him because he black. So you racist against him, and so he would come in there and say, he thought he saw ICE or who he didn't say ICE, but I think he said he saw immigration, and they all broke out running and trying to leave running because they didn't want to get deported, and then. He's the only black person there, but they didn't like him, and he's working hard too. But they got a problem with him. But y'all illegal. That's another part I don't understand as well.
Yeah.
Successful MD says how many people really pay taxes from 1099s, and he also says the rich expose the tax system more than anyone. Thank you, Successful MD. I appreciate the support. All right, y'all. I gotta wrap this up. I gotta get out of here. But I appreciate you guys for being here. I appreciate y'all for giving y'all perspective and input all the time.
Yes.
No problem. DeeDee for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
And this was a topic as well.
Thank you.
I hope we can speak on this more as well. But yeah, I enjoyed it quite a lot.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much, Ty. But be safe. Come back, Ty. It's been a while since you've been here. For the most part.
Yeah, I know. I'll come back. And have a good 4th of July weekend.
You too. Y'all too. I'm so sorry. Y'all too. Enjoy y'all 4th. Enjoy the rest of y'all evening. Y'all be safe. And I'll see y'all soon.
Well.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Be safe, y'all.
All right. Be safe. Bye.
Thank you. Later. So I think I read all the super chats. Thank y'all so much for supporting the channel, y'all, per usual. Thank y'all so much for being here, rocking with me. Make sure you hit the like button as we go out. Make sure y'all hit the like button if you haven't already. Also continue to watch the videos that are posted on the channel, y'all. At least go over, watch and like them. Leave a comment if you can, share them if you can, all that good stuff. And also turn on that notification bell to be notified when I upload new content or go live. That definitely helps the channel out. Shout out to everybody who gave super chats or cash apps. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you guys for doing that. So stay tuned for more videos, y'all. I will be back really, really soon. So make sure you are tuned in and you have that notification bell turned on. All right. So thank y'all once again. I appreciate y'all for being here. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll see you guys soon. Mwah. Later.